Testing, testing. Testing.
Hello.
Lights on. Little teddy bear. I'm excited. I'm one day I will be getting on a battle. And then Canada. I'm gonna be bringing news home from all of them. Nothing vegetarian? I'll be there.
There's no juice on the list.
White Tails, she's not vegetarian. She eats eggs, trust me.
You want in here?
I just sent her.
You just sent it.
That's an
Okay, we can start. Okay, I'm gonna
Every time I sit.
okay.
Did you get it?
I don't know if you just looked at my.
All right, cool. You're good to start. All right, I'd like to open the, what's it? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to open
Good morning.
the, October 27th, work session. I show the time at 9:03. I show we have a full quorum here. And Christina, I think is going to be participating remotely. Is she on?
She's working on it.
She's working on it. Okay, so that said,
I'm gonna see, like, how are we gonna know if she's on? Because this is.
pop up next to us.
Oh, she will. Okay. Like normal.
It's a computer. Use and
You're so fancy, Joe.
anyway, moving forward, determine quorum. Consider no council members for adoption of the agenda. Do we have any?
Yep.
issues?
Yeah. So we've moved the NCLM risk management presentation from items of discussion up to presentations. Should all be on your e-scribe. And then we added under review of council minutes number 9 items of discussion, the 10/25/22 branding roundtable meeting. We added that.
Yeah, I see that.
Wow, there's Christina. Hey, Christina, thanks for joining us today. And then I believe we need to remove the closed session because I don't believe Christina has any additional information there for us yet.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right. And how do I get? You got all that in there. I was getting challenged here. How do I get back to my?
Don't forget to refresh your agenda, Mr.
I did. I already had that on there. Okay. Any other changes? That's it. I'll need a motion to approve the village work session agenda as needed. So move. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. First up, on the BM presentation, NCLM risk management presentation. I showed Derek.
All right, we had planned to have representatives from the North Carolina League of Municipalities here to do a presentation. They weren't able to make it today, so we're hoping we can get that rescheduled pretty soon. But basically, staff met with representatives from the league as the number of employees over the years and the scope of duties have changed. We want to be proactive in our approach to covering ourselves, decreasing liability and mitigating risk. So we met with those representatives and discussed some action plans. So currently I'm working on like a training matrix for all of the employees. We might bring council and boards into that at a later date. But we'll, we're going to do some OSHA training and get everybody at least, probably OSHA 10 certified. It's a lot of stuff that I'm having to learn too at the same time while I'm trying to set up these training matrices for everybody. But what we want to do is ultimately, protect ourselves and mitigate risk. And that may mean that, Councilman Wortman can't go run a Bobcat just randomly until, a certain form is signed or he, goes through a small training class or something.
Why wouldn't you have said me?
It just slipped my mind. I'm so sorry.
He has a big hard hat, just so you know.
Um,
I know you do.
So we're growing, we're becoming more formalized, and we just want to make sure that we protect ourselves and do things the right way. You guys,
Eric, did the league like give us like, here's what you're doing right, here's what you're doing wrong, here are some suggestions? And
In-
that's what they're gonna present to us at a later date?
yes, we had a discussion about that in a general sense. They didn't say, specifically, here's
Okay.
exactly what you're doing right, here's exactly what you're doing wrong. But there's some overarching ideas and themes of things you don't want to do, and things that you're okay to do. But getting everybody, set up with some training is the first step. And then, kind of establishing different levels for people. I'm not going to ask like office staff to climb, 10 feet on a ladder at the park, the same as I would some
Just us. to
park
decorate the
maintenance
Christmas
associates.
tree? Okay.
So, they're the ones that are out there running chainsaws and weed eaters and, need PPE training and stuff like that. So, again, we're diving into it. So we're kind of learning and developing it at the same time as we're trying to establish these parameters for everybody to follow.
Unfortunately, it will cost the village more money in the long run because guys like Andy and anyone who wants to help do something that's relatively easy to do as far as technology and stuff like that, it's just.
What I
Not
understand
necessarily.
Christina, that we can sign a waiver.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. Not necessarily.
We can sign a
We
waiver
can sign a
as an
waiver
individual.
as an individual, but it has to be for each and every task. So we can't just sign a waiver once a year and say we can do
I
whatever.
understand. So that
Okay.
waiver is gonna be something that says,
don't
if
want-
Andy burns the place down, Andy's gonna take care of it.
No, it's if Andy cuts his hand off, he's not gonna sue the village.
It's a whole harmless.
But what
basically.
happens if Andy burns the place down?
You have insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the insurance
Well,
company,
no.
insurance company comes in and says, why did you hire?
Strike that from the record.
The league.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Mom's not here, so things are going off the rails.
I'm just playing devil's advocate about what
Yeah.
all the different risks.
So I
We're
was just,
letting him do it now, so
I
without
know,
signing
I know,
anything.
I know. That's- Listen, I brought it up to them. I brought it up to the league and said, look, we know we're doing this.
Yeah.
And this is, but it's, the stuff that we're doing, I think is fairly relatively like
Yeah.
low voltage landscaping. I'm not concerned about.
Right.
But you start getting into electrical within the building, that's a different issue.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah, but
I'm not doing that. Okay. Anything else, Derek?
so you'll hear
gonna
more
keep
about
us
this in the
updated?
near future.
Perfect.
Yep, appreciate it.
all right. Next up, I have Village Hall on the agenda. Christina. Christina, can you hear us?
Might be a standing item. Doesn't have any attachment. It's always like that though. Doesn't matter. You have anything?
Speak on behalf of Christine.
She said she's talking. We can't hear. Christina, we can't hear you. You might be talking, but we can't hear you.
She's probably.
Keep telling her to speak.
You want to move on? She just said move on. But you have other topics. Hang on, she's typing. Am I muted on y'all's end? No, it doesn't say mute. She can obviously hear me. Do you just want to call me? Yeah, okay, she's gonna call me.
Tell her cancel can't hear her.
Cancel can't hear you. Only Dirk can. Okay, hi.
Hi, I don't know what's going on. I was sitting there talking.
Yep.
And we're going to they're going to reach back out to us, and they're going to bring in their legal and their business team as well to go over a lot more of the like intricate complexities that we need to go over. Secondly, I have gotten Chaplin involved in creating the hold harmless agreement. So he just wants to make sure y'all fully understand the coverage in the event something happens when y'all sign that form. So we may potentially look at another, just like a separate policy, like an add-on for volunteers. So there would be coverage.
Okay.
So Village Hall, don't have anything on Village Hall. So you can move on from that.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Christine.
She's up next anyway.
Items of discussion. Next up, we have discussion and consideration of the establishment of staff expectations during a change in project scope.
So I'll go ahead and start by saying the memo that's in your agenda packet is very lengthy. Hopefully you've had some opportunity to read that memo, and it kind of outlines a lot of different areas where staff has quote unquote discretionary authority to use funding in each little area. Obviously, as you know, when we approve the operating budget, departments are expected to get certain tasks done within their purview based off of the line items. We also have capital projects that have a little bit more leeway because once a capital project is established, it's not bound by a fiscal year. It's bound by the project itself and the monetary dollar that we set forth for that project. So there is a little bit of discretionary funding in that. And then we also have what you guys remember as contingencies. So whether it's a operating budget project or a capital project, we also ask for contingencies should there be anything that happens throughout the life of that project that we need to use additional funding. We did have an area come up a couple of weeks ago where some easements were moved around based off of property owners. Basically, there were some water issues in where the original easement was procured from. That's it. Not Tullamore. What was it, Preserve?
Yes. Yes.
That we had put in some additional trees to help secure an easement for that particular trail. I know there were some concerns about us using contingency for that. So we just wanted to have the opportunity to go over kind of what we do and what we practice and what y'all's expectations are in terms of that discretionary judgment.
I guess my biggest concern, Christina, would be if in that case, a particular case, when we're making decisions as an individual that's out there doing it, can that potentially be setting precedent going forward when it really hasn't been discussed with council in a formal meeting about how we handle those situations? Because that would be my biggest concern.
Yeah, and that's a total valid concern, and that's where we just need you all to discuss kind of where you want us to start and where you want us to stop. We need to know what our role is in terms of various things, but for this particular one, easement procurement, when we've got an area where we're going to have to move some bounds from an easement location for whatever reason, whether it's water issues, whether it's future maintenance issues, whether it's access issues, safety issues, any of that, there's always the opportunity that we're going to have to move easements. And we need to know if we're going to that, to that negotiation with anything in our hand to negotiate with, or would y'all rather us bring all of that back to you all for approval?
I mean, for me, Christina, I think, yes, I understand that we're going to have to move and, do some things, but I think it's council's decision if we want to give a specific homeowner or a specific HOA a extra buffer that, that we hadn't planned on. I'm not saying that that's not what we would have done, but we weren't given that opportunity to make that decision. And now for this specifically, like this is the preserve, the easement was moved. One of the homeowners wanted us to plant trees. We planted the tree, we purchased the trees, we planted the trees. So now their neighbor wants the same thing. And their neighbor didn't have a problem with it before, my understanding. Now they want us to put up trees. For me, again, I'm not saying that that's not the decision that we would have made, but we weren't able to make that decision. So I think if it was in the park and we needed to plant some trees, because whatever, then yes, go make that decision. But if it's a specific that it affects us, one homeowner, two homeowners, an HOA, like that's the kind of stuff that we need to be made aware of and at least let us make that decision.
And can I just add real quick that, I mean, unless it is, let's look at it in terms of time. Unless there's something that, oh my God, this has to be done, because in any segment, we're going to meet within 15 days. So if there's something that is so dire that 15 days, it has to be done within 15 days, then, you know,
And act like a straw poll or something like that, if it's gonna cost.
We
Right.
can have a special meeting.
Or
if it-
well,
if
call a
it's
special
that
meeting.
important, But
Right. I think my thing is and I read through all this and I think I know kind of where all this came from. We just have to look at it in context of time. And time says, if it is an emergency that has to be done within 15 days, and I don't know if you put even 15 days in there, but we're going to have either a work session or council meeting, or we can call a special meeting if that's that dire. Because here's the thing, Christina, and all who's involved in this and staff, we don't want you to, I'm hoping that you look at this as protecting you from making a decision, so you don't have to make hey, you know what? That could come back on us and there's a ripple effect, as in the point of, you got another neighbor now that they want something, which would never have happened. And collectively, you know, there could have been two or three of us that said, sure, go ahead. And then there's that one sound mind that says, well, let's look at the ripple effect. And so I'm hoping that y'all look at this as being a safeguard for you guys to go, not that you don't have the ability or the forethought to do and to take this on, but
this is why we're a council of 5 and not 1. And it's to bring all of the sense to the table, you know, all of the heads together collectively.
that sounds familiar, but I don't know.
So here's my question.
Make sure everyone, you know, from a staff understands, and if they have any questions, I'd, you know, entertain them to talk if they have it.
Derek's trying to ask a question. You interrupted him.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Can't hear him.
I know.
So obviously, I'm on trial here with this example.
No,
No,
you're
I'm
not.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Absolutely not.
But to Christina's point, we're hired to do a job. We don't want you to micromanage everything. We don't want to have to come back and ask you for everything. Where in that contingency can we have the freedom to make decisions that
We're looking at it from its people, individual homeowners and stuff like it. If it's the
Park.
Beaufort Park,
Or-
it doesn't affect anything. Once you do something for one individual.
Yeah.
As a staff member, who, regardless if someone walks in and asks, Jill or anyone to do something for them separately, if it's beyond what the scope is, it can potentially have a ripple effect that, to the point where now we have another homeowner asking for something to happen, which is a possibility.
all right,
It could be
so-
on a bigger scale.
And
So are you saying that anything outside of the park needs to come back to council?
No,
No,
if
so-
it,
No.
So Derek, let me, maybe this frames it up better. And again, always keep in mind time. If the fuse box goes out at Beaufort Park, that shouldn't have to come back to council. That's something that in time, the space of time, that needs to be fixed within a day or two, and there's no ripple effect to it. If it's an ordinary daily task that needs attention immediately, absolutely, that should never come back, and I don't think anybody on this council would say a word. But when it comes to a project task or a task that if planting a tree in the scope of time, that we could wait 6 months to plant a tree, but we can't wait 6 months to do the control panel at Eford Park. If something happens here at Town Hall and the lights go out or we have a flood, you need by all means, it's a daily task. It's something that needs to be addressed within a scope of time. Let's say the time is 15 days. We can't wait 15 days to bring in someone to fix a flood at Town Hall or the electricity or this, that, and the other. But if it can wait 15 days, then if I were y'all, I'd be like, it's not my decision to do that. It's council's
I would
decision.
take it one step further. Let's face it. If it involves an easement and it's a question on easements, something like that, that's not for you to decide. Or it's for council to decide to make that decision to go forward. If it costs the village a dime to go towards one individual homeowner HOA rate, that is not, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna be firm on this, and it's just an opinion of one, and I don't have a vote, but what you're opening Pandora's box for something that could potentially happen, because we're just talking about maybe a couple trees right now. But this could go on a much larger scope that could cost the village a lot of money. There could be lawsuits involved.
Public
if it gets-
perception.
Right? It
public
absolutely is
perception,
public
so-
perception, which we get hit a lot of it, but we can't start individually making decisions that affect financially, even if it's $1, affects financially individual homeowners, HOAs, anything that's not village. But back to the point of, if it is village, I think it's something internally. We're not dealing with easements and stuff that could be legal matters. In fact, Christina, did you chat with Chaplin about this at all?
I did not, no.
Okay.
Well, yes, I mean, I did you mean from the monetary standpoint or from the tree planting standpoint?
The legal standpoint
Of what though?
of what this could lead us to.
Planting the trees for one person and not specifically doing it for somebody else.
No, I did not.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
from staff standpoint? So are you all fine with, I saw some of her examples in here, her requested action, like some things that might happen here, like adding a fax line or doing things within here that's within the budget, or we can, if it's within the amount that Christina can approve to move, or something comes up with
Yes.
something we need, like with the
Yes,
internet
yes.
or software, that we
yes.
can just move the money and when it only affects us. and-
Yes, because it's not affecting a homeowner or an HOA. And I think that's
Perfect.
what it goes back to. Moving, like even us moving the easement around, like that would have been, that was no problem. Moving that easement around and working with the HOA to do that, that was fine. It's when it was the next step of, well, I'll only let you do it if I get X.
Yeah, and a negotiation from an individual homeowner that holds the village hostage
Yeah.
for a project
Yeah.
is something that we need to be involved in. It's kind of it's public perception of you did it for them, so you should be able to do it for us.
Yep.
Or you're doing favors for one individual.
Yep.
And there are people that are out there that are waiting for an opportunity to jump on that bandwagon, that very bandwagon. You're doing favors for somebody.
Mhm.
And
And we're not saying you are, we're saying it's the perception.
right, it's the perception of it. So that's,
Well, you've already set precedent.
And Derek, I don't want you to feel like you're on trial, as you said,
just-
because we're just trying to make it so that you guys are protected, because I don't want this to blow back on anybody. And if it's going to blow back on somebody, it should blow back on council because it was our decision to make. So, is that clarifying for staff? Like, do you guys, like, I mean, I feel like if it has to deal with a specific homeowner or an HOA specifically, that they are requesting something that is going to cost the village additional money, that needs to come back to us. Okay, bye.
That was a good way to get. No, and I go back to, that one, it wasn't maybe 6 months ago, there was an individual, there was some work done on the yard and I guess, suggested that it was our responsibility to fix his landscape.
Oh, it was the irrigation. It was the irrigation.
And they came to council and we're like, okay, we don't believe it was. We talked to our people who did the work. There's no way we thought it was, and we left it at that. But if we would have just said, or left it up to someone or council, or you set precedent for going forward. Well, you fixed it for them, you need to fix it for us. And we got to be very careful with that. So
Can y'all hear me now?
is Christina coming back?
Can you hear me?
It's still on. Does that help at all, Derek? With the question you had?
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Does,
Yeah, we can't hear you, Christina. Sorry, Christina's talking. We still can't hear you.
It does narrow down that gray area a little bit.
Okay, I'll have her back on the phone.
I don't know what's going on, Austin. I've got everything on my end unmuted, so.
Are she using her phone for audio on the WebEx?
No, I'm on the computer.
You're on there twice, and I don't know what's happening there. I can't tell about.
How'd you do that, Joe? You were on there twice last week.
Yeah.
Oh, I went from my phone and I was already on my computer and I could not, for some reason, pull up this. So I had to go on my phone to get this while I was on the computer. So then I eventually figured it out. So.
My problem is I'm unmuted on my computer, but y'all still can't hear me.
All right, well, we can hear you on the phone. I know this is a pain in the butt. Okay, so Derek, does that clear that up for you? I know we just started to ask that question.
Yeah, it gives us some better direction in the gray area, I think, of the contingency.
It sounds like anytime there is the necessary resources, whether it's money or staff time that involves an individual
HOA or a property owner, you all want to be involved.
That's
Yes.
pretty much sums it
Yeah.
up to
Yeah.
the point. Yeah. And that
But
goes
we
for,
trust, we're trusting you, Christina, to Jamie's point that if you have something that internally from a computer needed something like that, and that's within the budget, and it's a village decision, no, we're not gonna, that's where I look at that as micromanagement. Oh, no, you can't do that. Why? You got to tell me why you need that. We trust that if you need it and the staff comes to you and says it, and it's not affecting public, and from a standpoint of any financial gain or whatever's done, I think that's the way to.
And that's where we also have the things in place financially where like, a staff member has to have it approved. You can only make a purchase of so much, and then it stops for me. We have 2 check signers. So those things are in place internally.
Yeah.
But, let's say like this situation costs money and someone came and approved it and I paid the bill, it's good to know what you all are requesting from my standpoint, because a lot of times I don't know, like I see a bill for work, I'm going to pay the bill. So that's good to know, like, we need to be more detailed on like what the work is for. So I don't push something through that shouldn't have been, because I don't know, like it'll come through and say, this is
Well,
tree
hopefully,
removal or,
hopefully it won't get to you
Right.
unless it's been like approved now, like kind of through this process.
yeah, that's perfect.
Hopefully.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I'm going to move forward. Next up, we have discussion consideration of Bell Grove Trailhead property. Christina, I show you on this.
Yeah, I just left the meeting because it's not working, so I'm just gonna stay on the phone, I guess. I just wanted to bring this up. There were some conversations about the Bell Grove subdivision and that trailhead that is in the back of the cul-de-sac on Belgrove. There's been some conversations about potentially turning it over to the HOA once it's established for them to maintain. I did put an image inside of your agenda packets that show the small little strip of land that is currently owned and maintained by the Village of Marvin. We're trying to go out and figure out a way to reduce the maintenance, weekly, monthly maintenance that has to be done to cutting just a small strip of grass. And I'll let Councilman Workman speak to it in terms of anything further from there.
Why are you gonna let
Well,
Councilman Wortman do it?
Well, okay, so Mayor Pro Tem Vandenberg and I went out there and actually
That's right.
looked at this, and we had a conversation with planner. Hunter, thank you for
That would be Hunter.
moving my brain.
Hunter
Okay, so-
Nestor, our
so
planner.
We just had a conversation after discussing it, and Hunter came up with a really, really good idea. That because of future interests, we don't want to give up our piece of property. But Hunter's suggestion is that we give maintenance right of way to Belgrove HOA to maintain the property as they see.
Landscape easement.
Yes, a landscape easement, yes. As they see fit. So, and from my standpoint, I think that's an excellent idea. I think Kim thinks it's an excellent idea as well. Not sure what the rest of council thinks, but I think it would be the easiest. They would get it maintained how they want, what their look that they want. We don't have to be involved in it because it is kind of remote for what Derek's team does. And we still maintain the ownership of the property in case we have to have it for some reason or another down the road. So.
Have you talked to Belgrove on that? Anyone from there?
Well, we haven't yet,
We did.
or
We just came up with this brilliant idea a couple days ago.
yesterday.
Have I not talked to who?
You
Have
mean
you talked to
Hunter's?
anybody from
Hunter's brilliant idea. It was absolutely Hunter's
Belgrove
brilliant idea.
about it?
I have not.
Okay.
If we do go this route, basically the easement, I would have work with Chaplin, draft the landscape easement would basically be like a planting strip, kind of where it was like it would give them rights to plant, maintain that area. Basically, the other way it would read is that then if we would like to use that thing for any future trial, like we would, instead of being rude and just taking out things, we'd work with them to have them moved. So we'd get that. The only issue then is from the legal standpoint is that then the easement would have to be granted to the Belgrove HOA, which at this time, like I said, as Empire and everything's wrapping, finishing up, like we can still grant it to the HOA itself because it's an established entity. I don't know though who the authorized signer for would be.
So refresh my memory, what's there now? Is it pretty
Just
much open?
us.
Okay, so granting just a question, and I don't know the answer, but granting and say they were to agree to that, if we were to agree to that, technically, if they wanted to just buffer that and put like evergreens in there, in that area to just basically block that off, they could do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of.
Because we're not utilizing it for anything right now, but we could always have the right to come back basically and say, okay, you know what, this is really where a trail needs to be and we need to access that and, but.
Yeah, I don't know what the greater conversations have been had on like what they want to plant there, or how they want, like what they want it to look like. But for the most part, like, yeah, it's kind of really up to them on what they want to plant there. My recommendation would be if they want to plant big trees, like, I mean, like I said, it's more of like, if we're going to use that as a trailhead or some type of trail connectivity or anything in the future, it's just more of like, okay, well, it's our property. We can figure out how to weave it in between what we need to. But at the same time, that easement will read that we'll work with them to have those plantings potentially moved or removed if need be, because it's, the ultimate goal is to have that connectivity.
I'll leave that up to council if you want to. You guys okay with it? Strawberry?
Yes.
And just state your name, so it's just for the record.
You're gonna need to come up to this microphone and talk right there.
That microphone. Just for the record, it helps us.
You don't have to say your address on this.
3 Belgrove Drive, Waxhaw, Marvin.
Okay.
2050, Tony.
You don't have to say
Is it
your
on?
address, just the name. That's all. Formalities.
Ready? Tony DeMacio. Okay.
Thank you.
We live next to that mess. I've had to maintain it for 6 years. Grass will not grow there. There's a water main and there's a sewer main there. We don't know what the original intent was to keep it. The village. You can't plant trees in there. There's wires running underneath that ground.
Okay.
And supposedly that's where the greenway was going to come out at some point. So to maintain it, I don't know how you're going to maintain it. There's weeds there now. There's no grass. It's just a bare spot and we've kept it up
We actually put up a metal landscaping
to separate
to
it.
separate it because all of the wiregrass and the weeds and the fire ants come over on our property.
When you say metal landscaping,
It's just
like a
listed on
barrier.
the picture.
We said Derek a couple
A
of
metal
pictures
edging,
more.
okay.
It's a picture of
Okay.
how bad it looks.
There's heavy equipment that's been on there. Trucks have parked on there.
Yeah, you'll see it.
Look, Empire hasn't taken care of anything. They're the HOA. They haven't taken care of the existing stuff
They
there
won't let us participate in
in
it.
any of it.
Okay.
So even when we take over, the village or the subdivision is such a mess now that people aren't going to want to do what they're supposed to do according to the CCRs because they're doing whatever they want now.
And nobody's enforcing anything.
And
So-
there is no money. We have no idea what has happened to any of the money that's been paid with the HOA fees. Our HOA fees are pretty high for having no amenities.
That's correct.
So do you have a recommendation in mind in the sense that what, if you could wave a magic wand of what is the fix?
Well, I think that the thing to consider is whether you want to keep it or not. We don't know what's going to happen in the future there.
Right, so I think we want to keep it.
That's what our
keep it.
feeling is as well.
So what would you like to
I
see
think
there?
something needs to be, there needs to be something constructed there that says it belongs to the village of Marvin. That there's no trespassing. I mean, we've had trucks back up on it. There's been heavy equipment on it. People have quite honestly gone up into the woods, urinated back there. It's been a mess. And
Okay, so you want to,
something to,
put
something
up
that
a-
says Village of Marvin, no trespassing, a nice fence, something that blocks
want-
it off that
do you
says
want
it
a bear-
belongs to you.
Yeah, do you want a barrier
Very
from,
fine.
oh, I know, I was out there 2 days ago.
I remember it's been for a year or so.
And I'm not trying to be flippant, like I'm really not, but, and I mean, we can put up a sign, but that's not going to stop anybody from going out there and doing anything. I mean, if
Right.
people are going to trespass, they're going to trespass,
And,
you know,
and the only thing that's going to
Um,
prevent them from driving up there, quite frankly, is going to be something like a guardrail.
or
Yeah,
a bolt
It's not going to be that pretty.
Pretty.
For all the building going on, we've had people parked there smoking dope. I mean, they've been run out of there. It's been, there was apparently before we even moved in, there were empty beer bottles and liquor bottles back in the woods over there where the greenway was going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been a mess.
So let's get ahead of this, Derek. Maybe a suggestion is if it ever becomes part of a trail system, what would make sense to put there now that would act as a barrier from someone from driving up in there right now that we could add into, so we're not going back
The
and
same-
spending
The
money?
same thing we have at Amber Meadows, the big boulders.
We could do some split rail fence with, some
That's gonna be
large,
cheaper than boulders.
large rocks. Well, we,
No,
you know,
because you gotta replace it. It's gonna be a maintenance issue down the road. It's wood, it's gonna rot. Boulders are gonna be the better thing if you wanna actually block it. The whole thing is that is a roadway easement. If you look at the map, it's the street where it ends, and that's the end of the road for possible future development if 50 years from now, we're not all here and Charlotte's gone and they want to develop a neighborhood past that, they can connect. That's the whole point why we want to keep the easement as kept. The idea is to let the HOA have control of how it looks and maintenance moving forward. We don't have to do this today or tomorrow. We're at the end of the growing season where the weeds aren't going to grow through the winter and such. If you guys want to wait for your HOA to be established and figure out where your HOA stands at one point, and then we make a decision at that point, I think that would be wise to do. I understand the limbo that you're in with the HOA and the builder and all that. You're supposed to be taking over probably early spring, right?
We don't know when,
So at this
nobody tells anybody in the community
I
anything.
mean, it's,
5-minute meeting.
That's,
I mean, that's about when they're supposed to be done building, correct, Hunter? Like early spring when they're complete.
Yeah, my last conversation with them is that there's, I believe, 4 or 5 lots under construction at the current moment, and 2 of them are supposed to be closing probably in December. The other one potentially anywhere from December to March, and then the other, yeah, I mean, they'll come to us to start doing the punch list and everything starting the 1st of spring. I would say.
So until then, it should be under the umbrella of, I'm assuming our maintenance guys will go up there and check on it, make sure, or if there's something that comes up, we probably call and say, hey, it's getting out of hand or whatever, because we're limited on our staff, but we have to have that mindset. But I'm thinking, I like your idea, rocks, whatever is going to work, because we could use those rocks if development happens years from now. We move them, bring them over to the park, but something to prevent cut through, sort of a barrier, pretty it up a little bit.
something. I mean, it's your property. It's not ours.
No, I understand that. That's where I'm just trying to.
They have to ask, they got to redo the road yet when they're out of there. So we don't know how much more of that cul-de-sac they're going to pave. We don't know, like I said, we're not privy to anything that they do, even though we spend our money there.
You
And
talk about Amber Meadows and the big rocks and stuff. And personally speaking, we still had problems with tractor and trailers and everything else and getting over in there. We put up a no parking sign. And then I used my phone every time somebody parked there, I called the police. And it didn't take long for them to understand that that wasn't an access to park or whatever. I even threatened them to have to confiscate their equipment and stuff, whatever they parked there.
yeah, we had, as you come around the cul-de-sac, we're at the end. And we've already had to call, I had to call one company because they ran over the grass. So, and I hated to do it, but I put up the same thing as you did. Please do not park or drive on the grass, which is tacky, but at the same time, it serves.
You
a
gotta do
purpose.
it right now. Your yard's beautiful, by the way. I was like, your grass looks so nice. I think let's look into maybe a couple of, cause I mean, it's not like, especially cause it's on that curve, like you could probably get away with like probably like 2 larger boulders. Cause I know what you're talking about. Like you've got all that grass in front, but once you get onto the trail, our people were driving like trucks back there. So if we kind of have it like kind of on either side of like kind of the curvature of it, and then maybe we can look in to see how much that costs. And then you can maybe start working on some sort of landscape agreement that you can at least present to Empire, and that they would be responsible at that point, like once the HOA takes over, see if they're, amenable to that.
Yeah,
At least we can keep doing some work on it. And in the meantime, we'll have staff, park staff go out and weed eat it, or
Yeah.
in the meantime, like you said, it's
So just
the growing
maintain
season's
it
almost
the way
over.
they've been through the winter, and it's going to be light maintenance through the winter. The stuff's not
Now it's
growing.
dead time.
But
so-
plans always change, and this could fall through, and then all of a sudden we're into spring and we're having issues. So let's just make sure we have a sort of a plan in place from a maintenance standpoint.
We did have to bring in the bowl, they was already there, we just had to move them.
There's a small sidewalk that ends there. I think one that was to be placed at the end of that sidewalk would prevent anything from even going around the boulders to go up behind where the greenway should be and go behind the properties, because there's a lot of heavy equipment in there right now. And they don't seem to care about what they do.
New homeowners, they do whatever they want.
And nothing's being built behind it, correct?
Sir?
Right now, nothing's being built behind it right now.
No.
Yeah, that's the property line.
Okay.
Put something at the end of that sidewalk now. in the future, you could use it because the sidewalk would be where the train will come around and go
Right.
down. But they can go around and do whatever they want. Like we said,
Right now.
all the homeowners had heavy equipment go through there. So now there's just ruts all over there.
Okay.
That's-
Correct.
We don't know how deep the piping is for the,
Right.
You guys were opposed to like a bench, right? If we, I think I proposed the idea of a bench.
Don't want a bench.
Okay, so
Free spirit.
you don't want a bench.
no.
Not-
I think your original suggestion, Derek, about a split rail or something to separate it from everybody, that it does not belong to Belgrove. It belongs to the village of Marvin.
You could put a sign.
Just
Village of Marvin, no trespassing, period.
And that gives our deputies authority to move people onto there if it's posted that way. But I mean,
At nighttime, they have to come from somewhere else. By the time they get there, half an hour later.
Yeah, we've had to call several times.
no, there's
We've had to
nothing
call
we can
the
really do
sheriff's
with that
department.
unless we have our own police department and they're 24/7. So that is what it is. The only thing we can do is put signage out there so that we have, that they have authority to restrict people from going on there and possibly some rocks to keep people from driving in. But it is a public right of way, so it's that's what it is. It's a street right of way. So there's only so much we can do about it as far as restricting people from being there. They can park in the cul-de-sac. It's a public road. There's nothing we can say about somebody parking in the cul-de-sac.
Right.
As long as they're staying on the pavement, they're not driving in your yard, there's really nothing that we can say about it. Most likely, as the subdivision is finished, you're gonna have a lot less problems up there because you're not gonna have a bunch of people from the outside coming in there. You're not gonna have construction workers and people that don't belong. There's gonna be too many eyes on it and it's gonna be finished.
We're having a hard time even getting people to entertain the flock system.
Yeah, well, and
I mean, that's,
Which to me is a no-brainer.
that's a great answer to, because they solve things
Absolutely.
very quickly.
We've got people in there that, they don't care about that either.
It makes a police state if you put one of those up.
Yeah, that's unfortunately a neighborhood issue that we can't not necessarily. But we have what we have from law enforcement. We had added if timing is going to be based on if someone is available in that area quickly and stuff. So, but I think I think unless there's any other questions, we have enough. I appreciate you guys coming out because a lot of times this gets
Say
delayed
something.
because we don't know the specifics and we appreciate your comments and suggestions of what we can do, but we'll figure something out for sure. So.
Just give me a year's supply of ant killer and. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so that being said, I don't think there's anything else we need to talk on that right now. I think we have our marching orders for that. I guess we could look into cost of boulders.
I mean, you can get them at the local supply place. What do you call it? Yard Works and MLP. They carry that kind of stuff.
Okay.
You know, inside it.
All right. Next up, we're going to move into discussion of facility rental fees. Austin, I showed you're up.
Okay, so we have a proposed fee schedule amendment in your packets encompassing facility rental fees for Village Hall, the barn, and the picnic shelter. I'd like to start with Village Hall with the installation of, ongoing installation of very, say expensive and delicate AV equipment. We definitely believe we needed to increase that security deposit, especially for rentals of this room. So that's why we are proposing a $500 security deposit for the council chambers. The other rooms have some AV equipment, so we would like to keep those at 200. We think that's should encompass any sort of basic damage that's incurred. And we've adjusted rates here and there to be more, more in line with our other rentals. We want to make sure that we're not discouraging rentals of the barn and the picnic shelter by having rates too low at Village Hall. So for events that are naturally a better fit for more of an outdoor space, we want to make sure that those events are at the park and not necessarily here in our building. Derek, Bill, did you guys want to step in on any of these?
Yeah, I think an example of that would be, a kid's birthday party, something that's going to get messy and, probably increase the risk of stuff getting damaged.
Why do we lower the rates for the picnic shelter and the barn?
We were trying to find a happy medium of Village Hall, and instead of just jacking those up to find that proportion, we had some discussion about were they right, were they maybe a little high? And so we tweaked it on both ends.
To what, Derek? Did you look at other?
Yeah, I mean, our picnic shelter is high. I mean, you can
to
go,
other towns?
yeah, like you can go to, a community park, Charlotte Meck, Union County, and rent the shelter for $35 an hour.
Yeah, but why are we not keeping the security deposit high? I'd much rather keep the security deposit high and be like, my thought is if you can't pay a security deposit, like that's a refundable security deposit, then you're planning on screwing something up.
I mean, I understand that argument. I think for us, it was just trying to keep it relevant to the rental fee itself and, finding that kind of consistent balance with all of them. There's no perfect answer here. Listen, we understand that, we played around with it for hours. We're just trying to.
Because I know that we've been messing around with the barn and the picnic shelter rental fees for off and on, probably for a year and a half. I like where we had the barn, the picnic shelter. I didn't think we needed to change that at all. I think if you want to do some, up the security deposits and things for council chambers, because I agree we do have some very expensive stuff and a very brand new building.
Yeah,
I think
to
that's
that
fine.
argument, I don't think the barn changed, but we did lower the picnic shelter just to be more consistent
The
with
barn changed $60
other picnic
I-
shelters.
from 80 to 60,
looking at it.
75 from
We-
100 to 75.
We did propose the change of the non-residents fees to a 50% increase instead of,
Can I just
100.
say one thing that maybe, I think like the security deposit, I wasn't part of this, but I just wanted to say that I think why Derek's saying sometimes the security deposit is a lot and maybe lowered it for the picnic shelter is because they can't book it until they pay their fee. So they're coming in and paying the security deposit with the rental fee at the same time. And so for like a mom having a birthday party, dropping $800 before she pays for party entertainment and food, yes, you get 400 back a month later or 2 weeks later. I process the checks as quickly as possible. I really only try and do print checks once a week. So, you might not get that money back. That if you're renting the barn, that's a lot of money up front with paying the rental fee, because most people are renting it for several hours because they can't book their spot until both are paid.
I'm okay
So-
with that.
Okay,
Meaning I'm okay if you have to pay more money.
yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like, this is our property. We need to be taking care of it. If you can't pay an extra $100 for a refundable security deposit, even if it's up front, then you need to plan better.
One thing that I need.
Sorry.
One thing I need to recommend, if you guys are going to keep this picnic shelter security deposit as is to increase the security deposits for the conference rooms to $300 and the grounds. Because we definitely don't need a lower security deposit for any facility here than the simple picnic shelter.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it from a different angle, from a standpoint of what is our deductible on our insurance? Because if something gets messed up, what is our deductible? So when someone comes in and complains and says, my God, I got to pay X. Well, our deductible is $2,500 and you don't even cover our deductible if you mess it up.
One other thing to note in here is we have a list of fines and penalties for if you mess up a facility. And one of the things we have included is a new charge for damage to any audio video equipment. If something here is damaged, it's not It's not cheap to fix, so that's a $500 minimum charge.
I know, but how are we gonna get it from them if they were paying cash or a check?
Right, and that's where the
I mean, they could be
deposit
like, yeah,
comes
I
in.
messed it up.
See,
Bye.
I've got the money.
Bye, Felicia.
Hold it hostage.
It's $500 up to the cost of repair replacement. So it's floored.
Or I didn't pay $500 and I just said, I'll see you.
I'm just looking at, I just want to put it, I'm just trying to come at a different. So when someone says, why is something?
Because I'm not being tactful.
I mean,
Someone, in all fairness, playing devil's advocate, someone may come in there, look at that system and say, boy, I'd like that. I'll pay $500 all day and take that down and never be seen again.
I mean,
So, I mean,
It's
if that,
not likely to happen, but.
but this, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, this $500 minimum up to cost of repair, that's after the fact. That is not, that is an additional fee included in the security deposit.
If, for example, what we would pull the security deposit, and that would be your $500 minimum. But we would come after someone for any additional charges. So if let's say they somehow knock that projector off.
Yeah,
And it's
and-
$700. We're coming after you for $200 additional dollars.
Which we wouldn't do because it would cost us more money to go after you to do it. As Chaplain always tells us, it's more expensive. Just go
And if someone,
eat it.
and then if someone at that point, they're banned, someone would be banned from a future rental.
okay, so, but my question is, and I'm all about making money to pay for our facility, why would we even rent this room to anybody? This is council chambers. This is a meeting room. This is not a party room. And this is not a meeting room for an HOA. There's another room over there that has AV in it, that has
Yeah.
facility for all that stuff. Why would we have anybody in our council chamber?
Because we always said when we were built, well, I didn't say it, but other people before me said, well, if we're doing this, this is a building for the people, which I agree. And,
agree.
but that room over there, that wouldn't hold my HOA. So that's the reason we're doing it.
And one of the ways that we would, part of the benefit of setting up the fees in this way, where we've upped this chamber significantly, is it's going to help us naturally filter people to a better place for their event. So events that are more likely to cause damage won't be here. And we also have the discretion as to who we rent to for what event. So if someone says, yeah, I'm willing to pay for this room and we're going to have face painting. No, you're not. You know, we're not gonna rent this room to someone with a naturally messy event or something has a very high chance of damaging property. So between the higher fees, filtering people to a better location for their event, and our ability to just say we're not going to rent the room for this purpose, we definitely feel like we have a much better handle on the situation than we do now.
So kind of like our ordinances, when we talk about the heritage district uses, can we get a potential list of uses that we would allow this room for? And the reason I say that, because it's standard. And if it's beyond the standard of what we think, then it's got to come back to council to decide. And you guys aren't necessarily making special favors for someone, but if there's a use list, HOA, Boy Scout meeting.
We had someone request a wedding.
And that's my whole point.
Yeah, I've rethought the whole wedding thing. I don't think we should do that unless it's outside, not inside.
Come back with a list for uses, and then anything else we bring it to you. So
Right.
we're making-
Yep. And that's.
I think it's a good idea that we
So-
establish some parameters.
I'm gonna drop the mic.
Yeah.
So just to kind of rein this in and kind of tie it up, I have to come back to you all with a revised village hall rental policy anyway. It's on my list. The last two things I'm waiting on is once we get this equipment in, I need to figure out some last minute regulations for, like, if someone is here during staff hours and they want to have a meeting, and they wish to use fancy or AV equipment, there should be an additional charge if you're going to pull staff time to help someone with an event.
Sure, absolutely.
So that's what I need to figure out. So I can we can work on a list of uses. We'll come back with some recommendations with that policy, and I'd probably try to have that back show in January.
And quite honestly, it
That
gets
sounds
into,
good.
you can get it specifics as HOA up to 20 goes in that room, 20 or more comes in this room. I mean, stuff like that.
We just
We
want to
can-
make sure it's maneuverable though, because no one will,
If it's an open meeting, how would they know what their attendance would be?
Well, I'm just saying, if they're projecting it could be over 20, then they're going to rent this room.
Like,
What if they don't want to, what if they want to say, well, I don't want to pay that much, so I'm going to go to the
That's-
other room?
Then they're going to risk paying less, and then more people show up and they have to turn them down because of fire hazard. So it's, you know, I mean, I think there's two different rates, isn't there, for this room or that room?
yes.
Okay, so if you think you could potentially have 50 people, you're going to want to rent this room. You can't guess on it. And if there's going to be a fire hazard at some point. The fire marshal will come in and say you have too many people in here, whether it's over there or there. It's up to the HOA to make that decision, not us.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is we were trying to have a happy medium. There's no perfect answer for any of this. We want to make sure when we bring you back a list of uses, we want it to be maneuverable. Because if someone looks at a list, they're like, I'm not going to bother trying to rent this place.
Yeah, I agree. Just have a list ready for them, standard list, because if it's beyond that, then it's to the point about you've changed your mind in a matter of what, a couple months? I think you were all for weddings. We just like to discuss
I
it.
personally haven't received anything about weddings. We have a wedding reception here at one.
So just to be clear, this thing goes away eventually?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a pullout that we can
I understand.
rent to someone, but we're waiting on an electrician to get back in here to finish the job.
So Austin, I literally know what the word maneuverable means, but when you're using this word, what do you mean?
Something that's not so rigid where it's going to defeat the purpose of even trying to rent the room. You know, we want to make sure we have
So
make sure we have a
flexible?
policy that we can adequately operate.
Flexible?
Flexible.
Okay. Like, I don't know what maneuverable means in this sense of the word.
Yeah, just, I mean, you could simply say, you have your list of uses, what we would allow this to be used for, and then say, if it's beyond this, inquire with clerk, and then you can get to us and bring it up, because they're usually planning months in advance anyway.
It's usually not months in advance. It's usually a matter of a week or two.
Then maybe they should plan sooner. I'm sorry.
That's not our problem. Find another place,
I'm just saying.
right? What is that? What is that? What did he say? I missed it. Okay, can't be so.
Be a professional fee schedule, that's not.
Yes. Is that up there?
Say again, I'm
The
sorry.
professional fees?
It is,
Where
yes.
is it?
It is,
I was looking for it.
It's up there. And the only change we've done to that is with your professional access pass, if you're paying for that pass and you want to have an event at Village Hall, we're going to charge you the same rate. You've made that investment with us. We know you're operating in good faith. That's just what we put in.
In, yeah. There's,
I'm confused, Wayne. What are you asking?
Professional access and fees, and that's like we're talking.
Yeah, that's what that is. And that's not something that we've not changed the prices for that or anything. We're only just extending that same policy to here.
So here's my recommendation. If anybody disagrees, speak now. Go back to your original barn and picnic shelter stuff, because I personally don't think that needs to
Okay, so
change.
we changes the barn.
No changes to the barn or the picnic shelter. I'm fine with council chambers, community room, conference room, grounds and parking lot with an accepted list of uses. So come back with the list of uses and we'll,
Two things I need to ask for though. Since we're not changing the barn or picnic shelter, are you okay with me bumping that security deposit up to 300 instead of 200?
sure, yes. You mean for council chambers, community room, conference
For
room?
community room,
Yes,
conference room, yes.
yes.
The other thing is I would like to get a new fee schedule established before I bring that policy back, just so we have the better rates going
Okay.
forward. So you guys okay
So,
with that?
yes, so bring it to me in November.
I can get this on consent in November, but I won't have the policy ready.
That's fine.
Okay.
But you want this before you can do the policies. Yeah, so just bring that back to us in November if you can have it finished by then.
Okay, I can do that.
So we
Can
don't
that-
have differentiation.
can I bring up something that's not noted on here?
Yes.
Hold on. Previously, I had suggested that in 2023, the professional access hourly rental fees double from the 2022 rates. I would like to change that and propose that they stay the same. I've gotten a lot of feedback that with everything costing more and inflation, et cetera, I think it would be a nice gesture and helpful to the people that have, created a lot of revenue for us to keep it at $10 and $12.50 an hour. That should have been a proposed change on there.
Okay, can we revisit it in 24?
24?
You visit what?
Leave it the same for
Oh, leave it
23.
the same next
Can
year
we
and then
revisit it in 24 if we
you
want to raise it?
do whatever you want to do.
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's make a note. We can revisit it at the end of 23. I'm
And see,
fine leaving
and
it
see
this
if we
way.
need to change them.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the facility rental violations and penalties. You deleted everything except for the trash overflowing. I
We
think,
didn't.
I don't delete them.
well,
Insert it.
We
Alter
deleted
them
and
up.
replaced below.
And then they're altered.
okay, I see it.
Question for like broom, mop and vacuum cleaning, shouldn't we have like a fee of having our office professionally cleaned? Instead of like, which staff member is gonna come and broom, mop and vacuum clean?
So those were charges that were for when we just had the barter picnic shelter.
Uh-huh.
If, we can definitely add a fee in here if we need professional cleaning after an event.
I think we need carpet cleaning added also.
Yes, I will, so one thing I can do is,
Yeah. 'cause
if something requires professional cleaning, we could charge like a $300 fee or something,
Well, how much does
It
it
should
cost
probably be the cost of the professional cleaning.
which is about $300.
to have them come in and clean the village hall?
So then maybe-
hall?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so we're not,
that's
we're not
fine.
asking.
But I mean, they have a-
No, well, no, but I mean, the bathrooms and I mean, that's basically, I would say, yes, $300. If you F it up, then you need to clean it up.
Typically it's cleaned here on Friday. So if someone has a big party on Saturday and they're using our restrooms, then it's not going to be clean for the whole week anyway. So maybe a cleaning fee with a rental. A lot of places that you rent big halls,
Absolutely.
you have to pay, or like you rent
Yeah.
a house for a weekend, you pay a cleaning fee. So maybe we need to have an office or a cleaning fee depending on the size of the party or if we're having a wedding reception in here.
I don't disagree with that, Jamie. That's a good idea.
I wouldn't do it depending on the size of the party. I just think
Or-
it's
yeah,
just automatic.
If you're using any part of the building, there's a cleaning fee and whatever our cleaners charge to come in and clean. And they should be scheduled. If there's an event here on a Saturday, then
So
they should come in on Monday and
I agree
clean.
with that. So Joe, just a little insight. You do the Airbnb or Vrbo or whatever you do. How does that work with yours? Because you have a cleaning fee built in? or
Doesn't
you
matter
have
if
ads
they're
on
there
too?
for a day, 3 days,
2
10
weeks.
people, 20 people. It's X amount every time. It's already built into the system. So what I would recommend, if, for instance, they're booking this place, this room, which allows them basically access to those 2 bathrooms and that's it.
In this
And-
front,
And this front and this
Well,
back.
they would only come in one way, right?
no. they'll have access both, yeah.
Here's what I would recommend. I would say, go to the cleaning company because they're not doing the whole building. They're doing that, they're doing this, and they're doing those 2 bathrooms. And what is it gonna cost?
So
Should-
let me jump in here for a minute, just since I'm the one that manages the cleaning.
Right.
Our cleaners come in every weekend. So they're here weekly already. So I definitely don't want to book them unnecessarily. Whenever we have an event, we send our park guys in here. They inspect the room. They see what needs to be done to it. And I think that's something we can manage at a staff level, but I definitely don't, it's not feasible for us to say, to call our cleaning company and say, we have a rental on Saturday, on Sunday, we need you to come back in a day later. Because they have a set schedule. They work with multiple vendors.
Then they need to get flexible. They need to be maneuverable.
I do that to my cleaning crew all the time. I say, hey, look, I got a booking last minute. You either do it or I'll get someone else to do it. I mean,
I mean,
that's,
the thing is first of all, let's just communicate with them and see what if they have, because companies run different ways. Some companies are structured schedule only and other companies have provisions for extras. They have a crew that's flexible that can go and do last minute things. So let's ask the question first of all, and how much they
There
would
you go.
charge.
We do have to, so they have a procedure where if you want extra cleaning, you have to get a quote, send an invoice, send it back.
Well, we can maybe use a
So then
separate
do we-
company to do additional cleanings if needed
mean-
instead of our typical cleaner.
I mean, that's the thing, like, here's the thing, like, I just don't want anybody to say, no, we're not gonna do this, because whoever said it is correct. Like, staff should not be coming in here and cleaning. If there are spills, if there are whatever, that is not staff's responsibility. It is whoever rented this space's responsibility.
Don't wanna go for overkill. That's the only thing, so that we haven't had it.
Here, then don't rent it.
And actually, we projected really low numbers for rentals here, so I don't want to make it so great that we're gonna have
But
50
Austin, I
people
don't-
in line
I
to
don't mean
rent this
that
place
like
and
like
trash
to
it.
you, but if people don't want to, people expect to pay a rental fee and a cleaning fee and that is
Every
like,
time.
What do you all want the cleaning fee to be?
I want
Because
you to talk to either our company or call Mary Maids or call somebody else and find out how much it would cost to come in and clean this room, the bathrooms in the hallway, the front foyer. Now, if it's the community room, then
It's that and the
Bathroom.
2 bathrooms because the
Yes.
access would only be through that
Right.
side.
So I will go ahead and say that I probably won't have that ready for the consent agenda. Just
That's
I'll
okay.
put it
That's
out
fine.
out in time.
That's
I'll
fine.
probably have to bring this fee schedule back another time, but I
That's
want
fine.
to get this on consent for the next.
Just to
That's
so you
fine.
know, I give my cleaning crew a schedule. Here's who's renting it right now. But guess what? That could change and you may be called to come in on a couple days notice and stuff, and they have to be flexible. And if that company doesn't want to be flexible, there's another company out there
There's
that is just
funds.
going to be here. But the other option is build the cleaning fee into the
Rental schedule.
and and when they ask, they say, you find out what it is, and then you go, yeah, that's.
So let's do some more research, bring it back to us and we'll make some decisions. But I think you can go ahead and change some of this other stuff that we've already talked
One thing
about.
I wanted to ask on here, and a lot of times I work on the fee schedule, but I didn't because I'm not in charge of this, but it says, no, you're fine. It says that you're gonna charge a $10 flat rate for furniture to be moved and arranged by village staff. Are you gonna come in and move all this stuff? But then down below, it says that if people don't move the furniture back, they're gonna pay.
That's if someone comes in.
Hey, if Derek's talking, I can't hear him.
If it's something pre-rented, obviously.
Do your park guys have the ability to come and prep for weekend? But $10 to move off everything?
It's not going to take 10 minutes to move those chairs. It's just a nominal fee to,
And they're typically here on Fridays, right, doing maintenance, so they're already at
Yeah.
the facility. They cut the grass on Fridays.
Oh,
So they're always here
Friday morning,
already
yeah.
anyway, so it's not an extra move for them.
I didn't know if we were talking, when it said staff, I didn't know if we were talking about like having to unhook like all of this stuff. That's what I was asking.
I don't think we can do that. I don't know. That's Austin's category.
Okay, so Austin has some marching orders and we're gonna let Austin work on that, bring it back to us, and then we can continue to clean this up. Yes? No?
Sounds
Maybe
good.
So, okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Good job, Austin.
Thanks, guys. Moving on, discussion of gated subdivisions and private roads. Hunter.
Okay, so wanted to kind of update you guys on the status of this ongoing text amendment. Presented this to planning board last week, and I think it was, they like kind of the direction we're heading. I've also talked to Chaplin about this. He likes the direction we're heading. The light bulb finally went off last Monday, right before planning board, and was able to kind of move forward. With that being said,
Wait, what'd you just say?
so the light bulb finally went off on not making this as like complicated or
Sorry.
as it has to be.
I
So,
stopped listening. I'll be honest. I apologize. Go ahead.
so in front of you is basically the base proposed changes of this text amendment. If you guys are, once again, if you guys are on board with how the direction this is kind of being taken, then I will move forward with getting a formal kind of text, because there's a lot of sections that will have to be amended just to be consistent. And that will be on planning board's agenda for their November meeting, and then potentially you guys would consider this at your December meeting. So basically what it would do is, right now you have in our subdivision ordinance, you have major subdivision, minor subdivision, and rural. Rural is basically the hybrid between the major and the minor. And it also allows for like one private road, one gate, all this stuff. So basically be making this new use called gated subdivision. And the gated subdivision would actually not be necessarily a subdivision with its own process. It's a specific use within its subdivisions. It would be a special use. I haven't presented to be a special use, which means council would get to consider it through the quasi judicial hearing. Or it can be a use with special requirements, and pretty much if it meets all the requirements and you guys are good with the requirements, and it's just signed off by staff. I'm okay with either way. I mean, it kind of depends on one, how involved you guys want to be in granting this, and then two, how, I guess, when that's being said, two, how often are we going to see this? The other thing is too, is I keep in mind that one of these special requirements would be that, for example, in Winmore's case, they would have to go through the right-of-way abandonment process. But I included that like state statute in your packets. That already then has to come to you guys. You do have the authority to not have to abandon that right-of-way if it's dedicated as public. So that's kind of one of our saving graces, and this not kind of spiraling out of control. The other kind of saving graces with this is that I'm putting a cap on the number of homes. It's only allowed if it's in one ingress egress. So basically like one road in, one road out. It's not, so then you're not kind of opening like Pandora's box and this becoming a greater issue here. I can go through kind of the actual changes, but I wanted to just give you guys that overview. Is there any questions on that? Right now, I think I proposed it as 15, but the Brantley development that is being proposed is 21 homes, and they would like to have gated private roads and a gate. So
a stacking capability. If they don't have that stacking capability to get in that gate, they cannot have a gate. Because I've seen individuals on Arvin School Road, it's an individual that has a gate, and when there's the delivery truck can't do it, he stacks it up because there's nowhere for them to go. And then it becomes an accident waiting to happen because you don't have a line of sight on that where this particular person is. So if it's a neighborhood that doesn't have the capability of stacking at least, I don't know, what's the
standards 3. I thought I already had that in here.
Well, so it's an issue for Providence down south. That right there, it happens all the time. It backs up Waxhaw Marvin Road, people trying to get in and out of those gates, and that's a valid concern. And the other thing is this continuity within the village. If everybody takes and has their gates and we don't maintain streets, then it's willy-nilly. It's anything goes, and we don't maintain Marvin as Marvin. So I'm 100% opposed to gated communities, period. I think first of all, it's a false sense of security because anybody can thwart a gate. And all it does is it makes everything look like crap.
All right.
There's no openness. There's no continuity to the village at all.
All right. Is there a compromise in there and say that instead of it being a gated community, it's there's a guard shack. There has to be a guard shack. Because you don't see the stack up at Longview. You have no problems with stack up because it's set so far back that you have to do it. So, I mean, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. If you want a gated community, by all means have a gated community, but it needs to be guarded 24/7. And that way there's no stack up, and we don't have to worry about, because here's the other thing. People do it all the time. That gate opens up, 3 cars goes in. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That letter that they got said, you're not allowed to come in if someone goes in. Yeah, that really slows a lot of people down.
Yeah, well, the intent of this is for very small neighborhoods, and where yes, all your concern and stuff there. So it's like, I agree, like maybe having a guard shack, but at the same time, are these small neighborhoods that want to do this going to spend the funds? And then that means, okay, so then do we open it up to it? Then it kind of just maybe gets a little bit more complex. And Andy, I'm right there with you. From writing this text amendment, I've been 50-50 on really trying to figure out if this isn't even an option that staff wants to recommend. But I think this is kind of the middle ground. Basically, like I said, it kind of keeps it narrowed down to smaller neighborhoods. We already allow it in quote unquote rural subdivisions, and that whole rural subdivision language was done by previous staff for a certain development in Marvin. With that being said, and really the rural subdivision should have already kind of been like this. Like it should have, but it was put the regulations on what the size of the parent tract had to be, and then like the minimum size of the lot, average, and so on. But, looking at it from a staff level is that smaller developments, like, if it's Winmore, if it's, with Winmore only having 12 homes, Woodland Forest, these neighborhoods that are like one in, one out, one, if we don't maintain their roads already, then we're not necessarily, it's not like it's from a POW bill standpoint, that we're losing those funds. Two, having it in and out, you got to have all property owners sign off on it. So then that kind of keeping a cap at the amount of homes keeps it kind of,
But why are you going to penalize a bigger neighborhood that has one ingress, egress that wants to have a gate?
that's a very fair point. Like I said, I threw a shot in the dark at the number of,
But
but
that creates more of the stack up problem. If you have a bigger neighborhood, more houses.
Yeah.
I
and they're
don't-
stacking up in the road, trying to get in and out of the gate.
Listen, I don't disagree with the whole stack up thing. I think you have to have like big truck, car capability. Me personally, I don't care. If you want a gate, put up a gate. I honestly, like, I don't care. Now, I think that, yes, there can and should be some parameters, but I also think it's going to be very difficult for some of these bigger neighborhoods to get 100% sign off on this stuff. And I don't think that that should be the village's responsibility to try to figure out what that process is for them to do. Because one, if it's a village maintained road, we're not going to let them put up a gate.
The 100% comes in, think about this, 100% comes in. Usually you get things passed by HOA. Individually, paying tax. You're now making a decision for them.
Right.
They're going to have to abandon it.
What happens to trash pickup? Solid and recycle?
They have a code to get through, which is like PDS.
It's like the landscape, it's like landscapers. They
Yeah,
have to
'cause
go
we-
through that.
So all that false sense of security.
Right. Every landscaper has a way in.
Open, an open, open community, it's low hanging fruit. If you put a gate, yeah, they may drive by them, but if an individual wants to get you, any officer will try to figure out. It's, and to your point, unless it's gate guarded and there's someone there, that's probably the.
And fenced.
Blocks and all that stuff.
It'd have to be fenced all the way around too, to make it secure at the gate. But, we're talking about neighborhoods that want to put a gate just to keep traffic off their street. That's why. I mean, it's a public street and that's publicly maintained, public services go in there, and having a gate it's just a gate on the street. It's not even
Again,
fenced.
I'm not against having a gate. I understand your point, Kim's point. Everyone has great points here, but I think we really got to get to the 100%. Where if you're going to do a gate, that community's got to agree.
Well,
100%.
and that's the big caveat. I mean, that's like the big thing here with how this language is written is one, it allows it for new development. So we don't really, that is something for you guys to consider at that time that development's being proposed, because you're not going to have 100% of homeowners. I mean, but for existing developments, they have to go through the right-of-way abandonment process. Meaning that's a process that they file a petition with the village, that a public hearing is had, and that petition requires all property owners that right of way that to be abandoned has signed. Because basically that means they're granting that it's got to be posted for 4 weeks. There's a public hearing on it. You guys consider it. With that being said, any road that's in our maintenance and already in our system and being maintained, you don't have to grant them that right of way abandonment process. Any road that's in NCDOT's right of way, or NCDOT's maintenance, schedule right now. They got to go through the process with the NCDOT, and I'm about positive they still have to kind of initiate that process with us / we have a say, because that's what happened with PD and other neighborhoods.
How deep's the 3-car stack or one big truck, 2 cars? Like how many?
Probably 75 feet.
Probably about as long as this room.
I don't know how far that is. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not good with
Well,
that.
but yeah,
longer.
a long car is 17 feet, maybe like my truck's 17 feet times 3,
So the setback.
plus a truck
So
if you want.
I want a big truck
I'm
and 2
just looking
cars.
at, because again, I don't care.
75.
Frankly,
100 feet to be safe. 100 feet.
but so then the inference, so we've got the issue right down here that gets stacked up because they're waiting on, to be able to get in.
Mhm.
So if you gate that and you push that back 150 feet before you go in, before you actually reach the gate, I'm fine with it. You want gated, by all means, but it's got to sit back. So there's not a turn lane, because there's not a turn lane down here, but it has to, because if you're going to really be in a gated community, it's going to be gated all the way around. So what you do is you have the gates, you have the road here, and the gates sit way back here.
Right.
And then that is all placed for UPS and ambulance.
Yeah.
Leads to my next question, because I know Firethorn had an issue initially. The area between the main road that's owned by the state and the actual entrance, because we were looking at changing the entrance. So that transition, would that be still maintained by say we own the roads? Is your thought that would be maintained by Marvin, or the neighborhood would own all the way up to the main road? You know what I'm
The
saying?
neighborhood would, in my opinion, the neighborhood wouldn't be responsible to maintain all the way up to the main road right away. So let me try to see if I can pull up an example. So basically, like, if you think about Waxhaw Marvin, and right away sometimes comes like this, just so you have, so basically if they were to abandon, if we were to grant them, so it would come all the way up to the right of way line. Another requirement of this ordinance means that they have to have a signed maintenance agreement and like basically deeming who's responsible. So we're signing, basically if we grant it, it's stating that the HOA and the property owners are responsible for maintaining their roads, the gate, all this stuff.
Curb, gutters.
Yep.
Everything.
So then it's all clear. It's not in some type of random agreement that was maybe done with the developer way back. It's done with the current homeowner. I mean, it's up to date. So, like I said, there's a lot of protection into it, but like it does still grant you guys, or still give you kind of that flexibility that if you don't think it's in the best interest of Marvin, especially the roads that, and I mean, that's the kind of the thing is, even, we don't necessarily need to put a cap, because even the roads that, or maybe one ingress egress in larger subdivisions, it's still one, are they going to get all property owners to sign off on their right of way abandonment petition? 2, even if they do, it's still within your guys' reasonable means to deny that request, because you don't think it's for the, best and for the public health and safety of the welfare.
So if we go down the special use route, one of the requirements would be to have 100% write off from the neighborhood abandoning the road.
Well, that's all. So one of the,
No, but I'm asking, like, is that a stipulation that we can put on there?
So one of the stipulations is that all offers to dedicate any road within the subdivision to a public agency has been withdrawn pursuant General Statute 168, meaning Winmore, on their plat, it's a publicly dedicated right of way. So I'm answering your question in a roundabout way, I promise. Any type of right of way for that process, and I included in your packets, it requires 100% of all property owners that right of way touches to sign that petition. So yes, it's already a requirement, kind of in a roundabout way.
Because Winmore is kind of
It's in this gray area.
right. So we're just going to take my neighborhood, for example, ingress, egress, it does have more than 15 homes. So let's just say it can be, however many homes you want it to be, one ingress, one egress. Can we make, because that is a that is an NCDOT road currently. Can we make it so that 100% of the neighbors have to sign off on it?
Yes, but at the same time, yeah, we can still make that.
Can we
Yes.
make that? Can we say everybody's going to sign off on it? They all have to sign off on abandoning it? No.
No, I mean, we can put it in there as a special requirement. That's the way it reads right now. It's basically stating that, but you still bring up a good point is that they would still have to then go through the right-of-way abandonment process with NCDOT, which is this, they're going to have, NCDOT is going to require 100% of all things. But we can still put it in for the consideration of, like I said, the gated subdivision to be like a special, for the consideration of the special use.
I think it's gonna turn into some sort of sticky wicket, and like you said, like, a lot of people, when they bought their house, they knew they were on a publicly maintained road, they didn't want to have to do it, and they don't really, they don't want the pressure from their, their neighbors to be like, sign it, I want a gate, whatever. So this way, it falls back on the village that we're the bad guy, fine, whatever, making it has to be 100% of the neighborhood. And honestly, if 100% of a neighborhood comes to me and says, we want to maintain our own roads, we want to put up a gate, we want to do our curb, gutter, sewer, go do it. I'm fine with that. I don't care if it's 10 houses or 50 houses or 100.
And then there would have
I
to
do like the
be,
one ingress egress. I do like that.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, I
one
think
ingress.
every single entrance
Mhm.
has to have a gate. You can't have one gate on one entrance.
Right.
and that becomes a challenge if.
And
you're
really
in two
that,
States.
that narrows it down. The only neighborhood, if you think about that's large and one ingress egress is right beside us at the preserve. But that's in 60, no, is it 72? I can't remember the number. No, it's like 90 something.
So,
Like,
But then it's 100%.
Providence Glen has one ingress egress and they have a boatload of houses over there. Courtyards of
True.
Marvin. Canterfield Creek, they have a boatload of houses.
so just to be clear, then those homes that are in the donut hole, would, if they have a current gate, that would be grandfathered in, but subject to, we wouldn't be taking over the roads, they'd be responsible for their own road, everything and up into the, right of way.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the way it works
Yeah.
with the one across from me is that all the ones along Waxhaw Marvin Road are in Marvin. The rest of the neighborhood is unincorporated.
Yeah.
They had a gate when they were incorporated, when they were brought into the village, but.
I
it's-
know what's
it's
reason
there.
that the setback would be really good. And that's where their kids have a party and everybody that doesn't live in the subdivision comes over there and they can never get the thing right and they're backed up.
So that leads to an interesting, comment. Now thinking of your neighborhood, hear me out. You got, it's Preserve is next to you, right?
No, Tullamore.
Tullamore's next to you. I'm sorry. Tullamore's next to you. Tullamore wants a gate, gets a gate.
Can't do it.
And they're gonna go through our
Because they're not
neighborhood
one-
and I'm
they're-
gonna say no.
They're not
Right,
one
right,
ingress
because
egress.
there's
There's
three.
technically,
And you
There's
guys
two.
would have to
Yeah.
agree with it
Because
over
they
there,
connect.
so that could never get a gate.
yeah.
Nor could your neighborhood. get
No.
That's what I said. This is kind of self-policing in itself. I like what Kim said is, my personal opinion is I don't care whether somebody wants a gate or not. I would love to get out of the road business. So, have to it. But, in parameters, I just don't want us to add to traffic issues, so the setback thing.
Or create safety issues.
Yeah, like.
That was
another
Bob
good
Markleese.
potential example of this would be Belgrove, because Belgrove's in this gray area. They're one ingress egress right now. Like, obviously, I don't think they want to take over their roads in their current condition, but it's really about these one ingress egress that are kind of, the intents here kind of in this either gray area or that's not being maintained by the village. Is where it can be considered, because then we're not necessarily losing Powell funding, on top of, the standard is still for any new development and everything that the roads are built to our engineer standards. So for example, the Brantley property, one of the conditions that is to be considered for this would be all the private roads in the development are still built to our public standards and all that stuff, just because once again, if a developer proposes something like this, then that's a burden that the HOA takes over and right away, then, potentially 5-10 years, they could still petition the roads over to us if they just remove the gate. Because those roads are still probably going to be in good condition because we know exactly what type of situation they were in before they were,
They have to be built to Marvin standards.
correct. That's
And
what I'm
then
saying.
Throw up a gate and then you're good to go. And then 10 years later, they don't want to maintain them. They can take down the gate and we'll
And petition
potentially
over.
take them over. Okay, so you did a great job with all of this information here. There's a lot of information.
I know.
Can you dumb it down for us?
I tried to.
I mean, after everything that we've talked about, no, like literally, like I need like, it needs to, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I need it to say, it has to have if we're gonna allow this, it has to have 100-foot stacking capability from the road to the gate. It can be one ingress egress. It can have, I don't care how many houses it has. I think if you're gonna do it, just whoever wants to do it can do it. I don't think it should matter either. It has to have 100% sign off from the community.
Almost like a checklist, you're saying.
That's what I need. I need it like, if we're gonna do, I mean, again, I've read all of this, but this is so confusing because.
The legalese can be in there, but if there's a checklist to say an HOA comes to us
Yes,
and says,
that's a good
hey,
point.
we want to do this. And I go, well, here's your checklist. You get all these things approved, then you go through council, they
To get
bless
the
it,
special use permit, yeah.
and it happens. But yes, you need to have the legal part in there, but that's.
But that's confusing. I don't have my law degree.
Yeah, and that's no problem, because really, like I said, the first step, especially for development of roads that aren't being dedicated to us or something like, they're gonna have to then go to DOT and have the right of, petition for that right of way, because it's kind of a twofold thing, because we're not gonna even consider it if it's not already, if that dedication isn't in the process or has already been granted to be abandoned.
And then,
Well, that has to be the other, that has to, well, not that, but another caveat needs to be if it's already maintained by Marvin and we've done your roads, you're not eligible unless you want to look at paying us back for doing your roads.
And that's the thing, is I don't know legally if I can kind of do it that way, but at the same time, that's something you guys come to consider, that you don't think it's in the best interest for them to abandon it, especially since we just spent money on it. You don't have to grant them that right of way abandonment. And it just stays in Marvin.
If you've had your roads done recently, don't even ask.
Yeah, I mean, because basically then that's an understanding with council, and that can be we can even do an internal policy, because I would have to do a road abandonment policy. So it's something that maybe wouldn't be in the ordinance, but it's something that we could put in the policy to an extent where it's like.
If they do, it has to be at least 15 years from when we had the roads done.
Or if they still want to do it, they can pay us back for the portion of the money that we spent to do their roads.
so I'm trying to think of an example. So for a road in neighborhood that is not currently taken over by Marvin and they're still under the state, would we require them to bring it up to the Marvin standards before any of this would happen? I'm just asking to standardization of what our community looks
If
like.
they're going to gate it, I don't care what their roads look like.
Great. They got
I-
potholes all over the place.
Yeah, I don't care. Put a gate up and you've got potholes and you can figure out how to maintain it. I don't think we need to dictate. Just use my neighborhood, for example, because ours are state maintained. We have one ingress, egress. We have 40, I don't know, one house is 42, whatever. I don't remember. But
We just want to create a
roads
path.
haven't been done. They're not high on Marvin's list, but I don't think if my neighborhood wanted to throw up a gate, that we should have to get.
There's a
them-
pathway for you to do it. That's all we're trying to create is a pathway.
Yeah.
It's probably unlikely it's going to happen based
Yeah,
on.
so to your,
It's like Winmore who came and said, we have 12 people. Now, Winmore's already put up their little post, and I don't know that that's 100 feet. And I think it should be no less than 100 feet.
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
Well,
no, I agree. I mean, like I said,
They're in the right of way drilling holes in the road for gate posts.
So,
It's not
real quick,
presumptive.
so I can write this up, but to answer the mayor's question about bringing it up to standard, basically, if it's a new development, it has to be built to our standard in the first place. If they want to come and do this, yeah, we don't necessarily care. Winmore is in a weird spot because they have to, we're also in the process of closing out their bond. So, that will allow, I mean, so like really, it's going to be built to our standards because the bond, it would, finish the completions and then they would actually put the rest of the gates up if all of this passes. So,
Just one question. I know from being on the planning board, this started from somewhere Is there any communities right now that are wanting to do this? Is that what this?
Winmore
Winmore.
wants to do it.
And the newly proposed Brantley the subdivision on the Brantley property that we discussed at planning board last week. And it was kind of, they came with me with wanting to do private roads without, like I said, when their first initial conversation, without even looking into our ordinance. and all that stuff.
Car?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I know. That's what we talked about. That's still in the process, so, okay.
so that's all I got. I mean, like I said, if you guys are okay with
That's all you have?
if you are okay with this direction, then I will formalize everything, dumb it down for you guys.
Thank you.
And-
Me, not these guys. They're smart. Me, just give me the checklist. That's all I want.
Would you got, how,
I mean, I want all the other stuff because I do read it. I'm not saying that I don't read it. I do read it, but I just, there's like, this part is over here and this part's over here and then this part's over here and this requirement's over here. Just give me a section where all the requirements are and then all the other stuff.
just quick question, since we don't have work sessions moving forward, so I can just get timeline for and understand with how you guys want to proceed with when to consider this. Do we want to, I can probably have a draft done for your guys' agenda November 14th. Planning board won't make a recommendation until the 15th, but you guys could review and potentially call for a public hearing at the November meeting for your December meeting. Or you wait till planning board does it, you go to your December meeting and you call for public hearing at the December meeting for the January meeting. I just need to know.
I don't think that this is something that we need to rush. I would much rather get it done correctly, let planning board have a good stab at it. Let us look at it again. And if we're all on the same page, that'll give us 2 more meetings to really look at it, make sure we're good with it, and then we can call it for the January meeting. That's that's my opinion. This is not like,
I agree.
this is not life or death. Like, yeah, let's make sure I mean, this is a big deal. Like, we've always been like, no gates, we're not doing gate, we're not having a, if we're gonna do it, let's make sure we're doing it correctly. Dotting all the i's, crossing the t's. I was gonna say it the other way.
Sounds good.
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 March orders.
Moving on. Marvin Day planning update.
Jill,
Jilly,
this is my moment. Hi, friends.
you're free to take over the rest of the meeting, by the way.
Thank you. Joe, you know me. My favorite topic on the planet is Marvin Day. Although I don't really have
Jamie's too.
Jamie. I don't really have a ton to update you on, other than the working groups all met. They've got marching orders. Some are marching faster than others. But things are happening and venues are being secured. Parking is being worked on. Food trucks are lined up. So we've got a lot of stuff happening. The subcommittee is meeting on Tuesday. So I will have a flyer ready by Tuesday to show the subcommittee, and we'll start putting that out. My next task is to get the website ready a lot earlier than we did last year, but we just have to finalize some details and some events, but overall it's going to be amazing and I'm excited. Yes, sponsors. So my friend here was supposed to give you a sponsorship update, but she had to step out. So it's my understanding that she hasn't really heard from anybody except Kim about sponsors yet.
Yeah.
Say it louder and prouder, Jill.
So only Kim is getting sponsors so far. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying
Kim's
y'all
party.
aren't having conversations. I know, listen. So I'm not saying y'all are not having conversations. What I'm saying is if you are, Jamie is not aware. So if you've talked to people, you've made contact, feel free to just like shoot her an email or a message and say, here's the people I spoke to. She is tracking that on the spreadsheet. If they've given you a verbal, but they're not really sure, you can tell her that too. She'll write, yes, but they don't know what level they're going to be yet. It just helps her kind of follow up with all of you. I can say that we have, I think already about 7,500 in dollars. I wish. I mean, Wayne, I'm good, but I don't think I'm that good. So $7,500 in committed sponsorships. We've received $1,000 check yesterday from a sponsor who just already sent in their payment, so that's nice. But we'll continue. Yes, for the record, that was Kim's sponsor, so that's her pointing to herself.
Trip on Marvin next week.
Canada.
Good job.
I'll ask.
Excellent.
All I can do is ask.
Okay,
I will say
I'm
that
here for it.
I will say that one of the companies that I reached out to last year that was unable to be a sponsor last year has decided to be a sponsor this year. So go back to your
Who's that?
people who you think, the Joint Chiropractic.
Oh.
Just
Nice.
saying. Hey,
So,
what do you want us to be working on, Jill, besides sponsors and our subcommittees?
as a council, those of you that are on working groups should already be working on some things. Subcommittee is working on their things. So other than what you've already been assigned as a working group member, I have nothing for you other than hit the pavement hard for sponsorships. And that's about all. Anyone got any questions? I'm actually giving you a chance to interrupt me and speak, Joe.
Huh? What?
I am,
I didn't let you get a word in at the town hall, so I'm trying now.
yeah, well, again, if you you have it in front of you, want to keep going, that's what's up next. I'm just kidding. No, I don't have any
I can
questions.
just go the rest of the meeting. That's
Yeah,
all right. Thank you, guys.
thank you all. Thanks.
Thanks.
Next up, discussion of Dry Creek bed plans for Village Hall. Derek. I don't say your name that way, by the way.
I only do because Christina does. Oh, let me say that so Christina can hear me. I only say that because Christina does.
Quit saying it like that.
That's right. We're at number 6.
All right, so you guys know that we've been dealing with the drainage issues here at Village Hall. PRG was asked to investigate some landscaping solutions to those and submit those to council. Obviously, the landscaping and potential Dry Creek bed coming off the pipe on Newtown has been discussed. Let's see. So, we've hired McAdams to do a comprehensive park master plan. And what we're looking at as part of that is a potential project scope for a village center park. And if that is selected for our site-specific plan, where we would, go after Part F money, then we would ask McAdams to propose some drainage solutions for that as part of that. If they don't do a site-specific plan for Village Hall and a park here, then council would need to revisit the suggestions for the Dry Creek bed, landscaping, resolutions for the drainage issues. We have reached out to DOT to do and requested a hydro study from them. And then, yeah, so we've got some stuff that we need to come down the pipe to, kind of guide us. But
That hydraulic
Councilman.
study is due this week, isn't it? Or, well, not due, but that's when they said they would have it. Well, they said they would have it at this date is what got back to staff. So we're waiting on that, see how much we're getting dumped on, how many gallons a minute and all that good stuff that will give us a lot more information on how to plan for.
So basically, we're just waiting until we get more information, Derek.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Great. Thank you. Next up, number 7. Derek, this is you too. Update on Tullamore Phase 3.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know you're busy. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Get back to the meeting, Joe.
I am. I'm in the meeting.
All
Doing
right.
meetings.
So you guys know that I've been in discussions with the HOA at Tullamore about completing the Tullamore, specifically Phase 3. The goal has shifted to connect Phase 2 with the Amber Meadows Trail to make a seamless loop. The easement that was given to us, takes the trail north and east and out to Ray Road. So I first met with Blue Ridge Trail Works and I had them flag out a potential route that would connect it. And then I went and met with the HOA to discuss these options. They're not opposed to them. They have some thoughts and concerns. Some of those would be similar to what came up on the preserve if we were to move easements as far as screening, specifically to certain houses that the trail easement would be moved closer to. As I'm out there, I'm looking at this piece of property that is in the county, that is the townhomes behind Ray, what's on Ray Road, the town's at Ardrey, thank you. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if we could get an easement on that property, our life would be a whole lot easier. So Hunter has since reached out to them to open up discussions about that. The first idea was all we would really need to do is get on the other side of the fence. There's an old barbed wire fence that divides the property. But I'm saying to myself, like, let's don't just shoot for the fence. Like, let's shoot for the moon here. If they're not going to do anything with those woods, can we get an easement through the woods and make the route more direct? It would look kind of funny if we just came off of phase 2, hugged this tree line, and then, turned to 90 degrees to go over to Amber Meadows. It would look much better if we could kind of flow through the woods there and, meander and aesthetically pleasing. And so
Is that wooded area in a floodplain non-buildable? So
some of it, if you,
no, what I'm saying is, as far as for construction, is that why it wasn't developed? Is there? Okay, so.
yeah, they would have to cross the creek and then get to it.
So it's not really buildable because they don't have access to it.
So, but correct me if I'm wrong, but we're
Jill, is
trying-
Hunter out there? Is Hunter out there?
He had to run quick.
No, Hunter.
I just want to let you know that this is on my radar, and this is probably the one trail project that I think is slated to be done this fiscal year. So I've gotten the ball rolling. The HOA is in favor of it.
We're
It was
just mapping it out.
Yeah, we're mapping it out, trying for the least resistance possible, right? Because if we can't get that easement from the towns at Audrey,
But
then
that's
we're
what
back
talking
to.
about having them donate that land for a park. So if they're going to donate the land, then we should have it, the easement. So I know that's why, yeah.
I need Hunter to give that update.
Okay.
Hunter and I were going to go over there and talk with them. And he and I talked about them joining us and being annexed into Village of Marvin also.
Nice.
I think there's multiple prong, like front going on over there, which that would have, been a good update. Okay, well, keep working on it. Keep talking to Hunter because because the HOA is getting formed and we were supposed to go to their meeting and I don't know where we are with that right now. So.
They've closed the last one, the townhouses is closed.
Yeah, so
And I don't know, and they should have turned it over. I'm not sure when that happened.
okay, so Derek, will you just follow up with Hunter on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, because again, we're trying to get all that space for a park. And if we get it, then we'll have the easement and we should be,
How big is that space?
it's like 30 some acres.
It's huge.
No.
Where you want to build through.
Oh, yeah, that, but the whole area, like that's non-buildable is like 30 acres, I think. Yeah.
Is it usable space?
Well, it's gonna be like where we're doing bridges and stuff like what's the one by Trader Joe's? Why can't I think of that one?
Okay, so it'll be more of a passive.
Yes, it's not gonna be super active, but it will also give us easements to get over there.
Yeah, I was just curious as to what could be potentially put there.
Not like Marvin Eford Park. It's gonna be more like walkways and trails than it would be like a field and a barn, because you can't build like structures over there. Otherwise, they would put more townhouses.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, well,
I
because,
think I'm not answering the right question.
well, Wayne said that there's access problems over there for construction, so it's not all wetland. So is there the potential for other?
On the other side, on the Tullamore Creek side of the creek, you can build some stuff there, but you can't get there because you've got all the wetlands in between. That's what you mean. Yeah.
And you can't bridge any of that stuff?
I mean, you could, but not for like putting like more houses back
Yeah,
there.
yeah, no, I'm just, so
There he is.
we could potentially have some facilities there if we were to get it, if we were to bridge to get in there.
Possibly, yeah.
That is, if the Corps of Engineers would be glad to get there.
Is that like a Tar Heel, or I mean, a heel splitter thing?
Maybe.
Is it?
The
I mean,
heel splitter.
I'm just, I'm just trying to
Bam.
get a grasp of what, what we're working with over here, because I'm not up to date.
It's not gonna be like Marvin Eford Park. It's gonna be
No.
like a greenway park that you're walking and you've got trails and maybe some like workout stuff that we keep trying to put along the loop, like, that kind of stuff
Okay,
is what I'm thinking and envisioning.
okay.
Okay, Hunter's back. Let's get
I
an
haven't
update.
gotten much information on it, so I'm just curious as to what all's going on. That's kind of Wayne's. Okay.
Hunter, do you have any
Oh, I'll get
updates
back out there too. I'll get my money boots.
on a potential easement or property from the towns at Audrey?
Sent it to the property manager a few weeks ago. Haven't heard back from her. I will follow up.
Okay, just keep following up, putting pressure.
I mean,
That's
part
a
of it's
good
what happened.
update.
Like I said, they turned it over to the HOA and the HOA had to get established. Then I sent her some information, even though she didn't read my previous emails. I had all this information in it. So now so I'll just follow up with her again. Like I said, with that transition, I'm not sure if the board's met yet or what.
All right, well, let's keep on that. Wayne, why don't you walk over there and start knocking on doors?
Annex in the morning.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
We good?
Yep.
Next up, we have a discussion of Mark Creek Connector Trail.
So this came across your radar a couple months ago. This was a discussion that I started with the Marvin Creek HOA about potentially connecting into the preserve internal trail. They're open to exploring the possibility. I think I mentioned that to you previously. As it stands right now, I've got to meet with some homeowners that would potentially be impacted. I have heard from some neighbors that they don't like the initial proposed layout of where it would connect to the sidewalk on Painted Turtle. So that's some conversations that I've got to go back and have with them, and then probably meet with the trail builder and see if he can propose some alternatives. But the reason it was brought to you was to discuss the funding. This is not something that we, had planned for or have funding for currently. So I wanted to open it up to you guys to discuss the possibility of funding it if we can get all parties on board. I think we'd be looking at something around $18,000 as it's quoted right now.
Derek, I'm good. I mean, I'm great with this. If we can get more connectivity, I think it's great. So I'm looking at the picture with the 607 and then 500, whatever. So where am I what am I looking at? Like where does this start? Well, yeah, that's where it goes into this
All right,
sidewalk.
have you ever walked down Saddle, or are you familiar with Painted Turtle, or are you more familiar with like the last cul-de-sac in the preserve?
I mean, I didn't even know any of these streets were in Marvin. So.
No, to be honest, I know this. because
I'm
I-
kidding.
Yeah.
Cut over the Painted Turtle, but I'm trying to figure out.
All right.
That's the proposed?
That's the proposed there, yes.
So where does that lead to?
Into the internal preserve trail. So is this which back cul-de-sac? I
Right.
don't know where this comes into the preserve. I know where.
Click on PDF attachment number 3.
Oh, PDF. Oh, maybe I was on the wrong
Okay.
one.
Should,
His red is rain on it.
yeah, it's
It has red and green on it. What?
It's the number 3.
What?
Number 3.
I don't have that. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Shit. You have it.
There are 3.
Where?
Are you on the right item?
Oh, number 3. Oh.
Jesus.
I was looking at the end, number 3.
Like Joe all of a sudden. Oh, number 3, really?
You're in trouble.
So the
You
green,
guys are all mean. I don't know even why I deal with you guys.
the green is the preserve internal trail.
I got it.
And you've got the northernmost tip there. The red dashes would be, the shortest distance that would provide a connection. It would.
So, yeah, it's long. So what's the house right by the sea on potential connector, on that word connector?
That's the last house on Saddle.
That's the last house on Saddle. I got you.
Yeah.
So literally this this basically doesn't get anywhere close to any houses.
Who's the last
Well,
house?
I don't know anymore.
Yeah, but that's far.
The
in
houses,
woods.
the houses that are affected the most are the last 2 on Painted Turtle, and 1 on each side of the cul-de-sac, and the house on Grove's Edge that is not on the corner of Painted Turtle.
What's that distance? That looks.
I mean, that looks far and wooded.
It looks far, it's not.
Really?
Yeah, because when you cross the creek, you're a little more shifted to the right than that red dash actually shows. That's why I said I'll probably end up having to revisit a potential route with the trail builder to get the homeowners to even consider agreeing to it.
Okay. I say if you're looking for money, I'm in.
So that.
Jamie can find the money. Right, Jamie? Oh, yeah, perfect. She said yes.
The preserve internal trail? Yes, it is. It's complete.
It's so nice. Yeah, she did.
Yeah. And I was supposed to bring you guys the recommendation for where that could potentially come from. And unfortunately, Jamie and I just didn't have a chance to meet to discuss that.
Jamie will find the money.
So I'll bring that to you.
Jamie will find the money. I think it's great. I mean, Derek, like for a small section and not that much money, we can really get some serious connectivity. That would be great. So I'm all in. We'll find the money.
Yeah, it's just getting everybody to agree to put it in. That's all.
Yep.
It's not a proposal yet.
Yeah.
Comments from the minds.
So you guys got all the minutes in here from September work session, October 4th special, the town hall on October 5th, the October 11th regular meeting, and the roundtable discussion from 2 days ago.
Any changes? I would just highlight the number 4 in question minutes.
Which one?
It's listed number 4 in the PDF.
Give me 1 second. Open this up so I can look at it.
Yes, October 5th.
6:30.
Say here.
Okay.
Number 7. General questions. This was during the town hall meeting.
Okay.
Okay, it's question, is the Bond Grove Church Road, Oxnard Martin, roundabout, part of the proposed GO bond?
Yes.
Nothing has been decided, but that they were examining all options. Mayor Panina stated that.
Okay, yeah, that's something yeah, I forgot to finish that. I forgot to clean up that part. I apologize. That's shorthand notes I forgot to go back and finish writing out. I apologize. So yeah, I'll go back and fix that.
I can't believe you missed it.
Good catch. So I'll go back and clean that up, and it'll be fixed when it's on.
We have a system, I like to type in Joe and Polino, anything that has that.
Sorry, let me
I missed all that. It's all been,
No.
okay, thank you.
So you guys good with these being on consent at the next meeting?
Yes, please.
I'll be on there.
Yes, please, Austin.
All right, moving on, open topics.
Okay, I have a couple. Andy, you have one that I was supposed to remind you about.
I made myself a note. I have it right here.
Okay, you want to go first?
I'll talk about it.
So pleasant here with each other.
So,
I mean, yeah,
it's been brought to my attention,
need to be jerk.
that we have a speeding problem at the park.
Oh, that's what it was. I
Park.
can't remember what it was.
Okay.
Eford Park?
Or Marvin Eford Park. So when we went with McAdams to visit the park, Derek and I and the people from McAdams, it was discussed about, they made the recommendation that we change some things at the park. Change the way the driveway is, the way the parking is and stuff like that. There were some ideas that they had come forward with. But one of the things was to change the way the road is. Since it's a straight drag strip, they were talking about making some changes to it to break it up so that it would slow people down. In the interim, however, because this is an ongoing process that McAdams is going to be a while before we get anything back and whether we decide to do what we're going to do. In the meantime, I was looking in my Uline catalog, and they have rubber speed bumps that we can purchase for fairly inexpensive purchase and have and install them along the gravel driveway to slow people down. I would say that that's probably our best option. I know it's been said that people are going 25, 30 miles an hour down that gravel driveway to go to the back of the park, Joe. So, to pick up kids or what have you, and it's becoming a safety concern for pedestrians in the park.
So how much do these speed humps cost?
Where's my phone? I'll tell you just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
We're talking inside the park?
Inside the park,
Inside
the
the
7
park.
mile an hour or 9 mile an hour
Nine
posted
miles
speed
an
limit.
hour.
People are going like 30. They're just bombing down those. Yes.
So,
I mean, unless they've got.
It's moms and minivans, apparently. That's what Andy told me.
well, that's what Derek told me. So,
Oh, so it's Dirk's fault.
so it's,
Derek's not even
it's,
listening.
and I can understand it. I mean, people, it's a gravel straightaway and people just scoot. And they're busy and they're not thinking about safety of people. I took a picture
So it's minivans.
in the magazine, but I can't send you now.
Anybody in a normal vehicle doing that, I can picture a Jeep or something with larger all-terrain tires, barrel.
Do you see what these people drive? They drive trucks like herds. They can go through a plowed field and you'd never even know it.
Okay.
Did you?
One of the worst,
Before you didn't make it.
our worst
I mean,
crowd is
We're here.
there's a group
There's only
that
one
meets at the
event
park
right now.
twice a month.
Yeah.
I mean, twice a week, in the afternoons. And I don't know if it's because it's so close to when school ends, but, and they have the furthest to go inside the park, because they're going to the back, the picnic shelter. But I mean, it doesn't matter what car they drive.
Holland Heine.
Holland Heine.
Yeah.
Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine people would mess up their cars with all that dust.
Oh my God.
And
That's a car guy for you.
I can't seem to find it right off the top of my head, but it seems to me they were like a couple $100.
Every place else here,
Per section.
here, it's fine.
And they come in sections so you can build it as wide or as narrow as you need. And they have two different styles. Some are wider and taller than the others. We could.
When you say build it,
They're like snapped together.
Yeah, they snap together, right. Yeah, so, but what I mean by building it is they snap together in different lengths and then they have ends that snap on the end.
Back out of
They're
it.
like,
Then you gotta get
puzzle
forward.
piece connectors or whatever.
These things?
Yes, those things right
So
there.
you're gonna have to have signs that it's to
So-
go into, just to remind people that.
These are, well, if
Why?
you look, Joe, they're
The right thing to do.
they're yellow striped. They're very visible and they're reflective.
DOT requires it in.
Well, that's DOT, it's us. And it's posted as 9 miles per hour. So if you go more than 9 miles per hour, that's your problem because you're exceeding the speed limit. But anyway, Derek has it pulled up they're made out of rubber and they are pretty easy to install.
127.20. A 6 foot.
Just a 6 foot. So
You need at least 12 feet.
you'd need two of them in each section. I'm proposing 3 different sets of them.
So we need 6. So how
You need
much would that
6. So you're around $1,000 or so.
I'm
$1,100.
fine with it. If Derek thinks it's a problem with the park.
If it will slow him down.
I didn't even know we had a park. It's
Well, we're gonna
fine.
put one here in the driveway for you.
Yeah, for you,
Mr.
Joe.
Mayor.
Talking about hauling Heine in there. If Derek thinks it's a problem and we need to slow some people down before we possibly redo it, then I say do it.
Yeah.
Do we have some contingency money for that?
Jamie will find the money.
Jamie will find the money.
Really?
Somehow the spotlight's on
Yeah,
us, so
so-
the sun is coming.
Right, so they can just be picked up and
Moved if we want to put them
So if
somewhere
we-
else.
So if we do go the route of redesigning the park, we can move them around and put them strategically. And or if we have another area where we have problems after we do it, we can move
Parking
it.
lot.
Right,
For Joe.
yeah. But they can be moved. They're just rubber. They just, are put down with.
They would go in the storage building that Derek's gonna have.
Yep. Christina said she can find the money.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty inexpensive for what the purpose it's going to,
She's still with
provide,
us.
so.
She's just listening. She can't talk. She's gonna call me in a minute.
uh,
Okay, are you done?
I am done with that.
Okay, I have 2 things. I'm gonna try to be quick about it. The first one is, and I'm not gonna take your glory of coffee with council debrief, but there were some people that came in, had some sewer questions. So one of those constituents put up our meeting from October, I think 2nd, when we were talking, maybe it was our special meeting where we were talking about our different options. And I want to clarify that as council was saying, we will handle it, we will take care of it. We taking care of it and handling it means we will find a solution. We did not mean we are going to pay for it. So let me be very clear here that we as Marvin are not paying for any sewer pumps in the village of Marvin. So I want that to be really clear. And for those people, who are online saying that I'm trying to control the narrative of misinformation, I'm not. I'm trying to get the correct information out there. And it is very frustrating for council and more importantly for staff with all of the hard work that they are doing and the time that they are putting in to doing all these wonderful projects and things within the village and getting that information out. It is very frustrating across the board when people are just out there just making stuff up and trying to, blatantly make us look like we're trying to do something shady. There is nothing more important to this council, I think, than transparency. And we are trying to do everything that we can to be as transparent as possible, as is staff. And staff, I know, is working so hard on getting all of this information out. So that was one. Number 2, I'm going to make everybody very happy right now. And the only reason I get to do it is because Christina's not here and she told me that I can do it. There is a very good possibility. It's not 100%, but there's a very good possibility that the construction on the roundabout could start in April.
What?
What year?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
That
hit the
was good,
Christmas thing
Wayne.
before.
That was good, Wayne.
You've had 2 good ones already.
April of 2023. This is from an email from DOT. So,
And I'll touch a
exciting.
little bit on that in my update as well.
perfect. So it's not 100%, so everybody don't, but it's looking very, very good that we might get this done a little earlier in 2023. Those are my open topics.
All right.
You're
Anyone
welcome.
else?
Austin, real quick, whenever we have a flag at half-mast,
Can you tell us why?
can that be something that's put on a public notice as to why we're doing that?
We can, it'd be something I prefer just to put in a newsletter. They happen constantly now. And so.
Can you do a QR code for it?
What do you mean? On the flag?
Yeah, on the flag is a QR.
I don't know why they're at half
On the
mast.
Yeah,
website,
anytime that you do
put
it
a-
at
a
half-mast.
Link to, where you get your information is why it's
I
up.
get an email from the state that says, hey,
Yeah.
by the way, someone's passed away. And
Right,
Okay.
but
There's a,
Look into it, look into a way to like
I
kind of
think
share.
there's a site out there that publishes that, so maybe
I Googled
find it and put a link to it.
I Googled it the other day because we could not figure out why it was at half mast, and I still couldn't
Yeah,
figure
you
out why
gotta-
it was at half mast.
It's the shooting victims in Raleigh.
Right.
That's
But,
what we figured it out, but it took us a long time.
yeah,
Yeah.
but if that, I mean, if we make it a point to lower it, then we should make it a point, the follow-up point should be as to, and you know what? There's an appreciation that goes out there to, that's, credible information that just goes out. And I'm sure the public would appreciate, what, because some of the public may not even know that something happened and without even seeing. Our flag is lowered a half mast today because of X.
Okay. I'll do, let's see. I'll try to work something into the newsletter, and if something happens, if one happens, like not in your newsletter, we'll just do a like emergency kind of social media post to go out. So I'll figure it out.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else, guys? Moving on, monthly communications review.
Speak of the devil. All right. So you guys have the November list in your packet. Honestly stopped doing 2 months at a time. Just it's a bit hard to get all that information this far ahead. Since we're not going to be having a November or December work session, when it comes time for communication, I'm going to just email you all a list and you just email me your feedback individually if you want to see an additional topic. But yeah, this is the list for November. At the very top, we've got three topics I'd like to see go out weekly, including the friendship tree lighting, kids with council, and then you just have your standard list below for your meeting schedules, the meetings coming up, coffee of council, early voting. The bond isn't on here, but I've already instructed our consultant to make sure that's queued up to go out until the election. Got a teacher work day, Veterans Day, and holiday breaks.
Everyone good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on, coffee with council debrief. That was Jamie and I just Tuesday night. Jamie, you want to take it? I think it started off with just a joking. He said, "Oh, I don't want any tough questions," and then we just were hammered. The good news is we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 visitors, I believe, and they took up that whole room. And plus Jamie and I, so we had 8 total, which is good, I think.
You actually can't count yourself.
Well, I was there.
Oh, for the bet.
I will start out with this, and we can certainly dig into the weeds on this, but this is exactly why we have coffee with council.
Mm-hmm.
The exact purpose of coffee with council, because everyone came in with preconceived notions, assuming a bunch of different things, and by the end of it, without getting into the weeds, they walked away going, "Okay, we see what you did." Because a lot of it had to do with the roundabout. Why didn't we just go ahead and condemn the property 2 years ago, put a 3-legged roundabout in there, and we would have been done with it? And I said, that could have, and we both said that could never have happened. And now let's explain to where we're at. And everyone in the public has an opinion and has a notion of how to do it better. And in the end, we basically looked at them and said, how about we do it right the first time? Because they're literally in the conversation that went to, well, why don't we do this, then this, then this? And that would have caused us to have to tear up, redirect traffic, construction 2 separate times because someone wanted it. By God, I want it right now. That's not the right way. And we're trying to explain all the hell we go through to do things right. Staff, I'm sure you experience the same thing in many different things, whatever the topic or item is. We go through hell, and a particular person in that meeting, we're doing specifically to help them. And it's just never good enough. But you know what? That doesn't discourage us from still doing it the right way and then going back and explaining it to them. So
In fairness too, it started off where we just interrupted them and said, stop, because they had the wrong information in it. in fairness, they interpreted a meeting to be something and that we were now going down the path of why are you getting into the
Pump station.
pump station? Well, we want a plan B. And as I think back, I think an individual asked, why we did that. And, I think we had some answers for them, but in the end, in life, you make plan Bs. If you're not prepared, if something's not going to go the way you want it, you got to be prepared. That's all we were doing. The information was wrong to the point, and I won't specifically name anyone, is we clearly stated the fact, clearly in that meeting stated the fact that we were not going to be paying for pump stations. However, one person heard it different and interrupted us and said, no, you said you were going to pay for it, when two other people heard different. So even when you speak clearly and say, no, we are not, we had to correct that because God knows what would have happened coming out of that. The good news is we had 6 people. I think we're able to address each and every one of their concerns. I think we had heads nodding in the right direction, why we were doing it, what has happened, transpired. But again, it goes back to where you're getting your information from. I encourage each and every one of them not to go to Nextdoor or anything just because they hear it. And quite frankly, one stated that they use Nextdoor a lot, but you know what? They're just making themselves look bad when they're stating false information. And it creates more work for us. I recommended them to call staff. We have a bunch of staff members who'd be happy to answer questions, but it's to your point, Jamie, I think you're spot on. It's why we have it. And if you're not coming and you're starting to spout information, don't be surprised if when we get this communication thing going on that we don't push back and stuff, because I'm tired of it. It's wasting a lot of our time and staff. And just look what's happening at the meetings, pay attention to what's happening in the meetings, and maybe you'll get the right information.
So I want to throw this in there, Jamie, to your point about the Coffee with Council, how great it is. Through WUMA, I'm hearing of other municipalities following our footsteps, and they're instituting their own variations of such. And they're being able to reach out to their communities and get feedback from their citizens as well. So this idea has kind of picked up and taken on with a lot of other places, and it's a good thing, I think.
Well, there's another big outcome of our Coffee with Council, and I want to caution everyone that does Coffee with Council that there are people that still do come to Coffee with Council not to get anything done, not to provide a solution. They want to catch us in a moment because because I made the comment, something about Waxhaw, and I said, no, I don't like Waxhaw. And I'll state right now, I don't like Waxhaw. We went to them for money and we went to them for help, and they told us no. We helped their citizens get home safer and faster. Do I like them? No. My pride and my allegiance is to Marvin. But I had someone write down, Jamie, Councilman Lyon just said he does not like Waxhaw. Now, they're going to take that and put it out of context.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? I'm never going to lose sleep over that. But I just want to caution you, everyone else that goes to Coffee with Council, people come into Coffee with Council with bad intentions. And if we think it's something different than that, we're wrong. All we can do is provide facts and be upfront and speak to, what we know in our facts. But that's the unfortunate thing about Coffee with Council. You do have people that come in with bad intentions. And again, everything that comes out of my mouth, I'll stand behind. And, in or out of context, my reason for saying if somebody sees it on there that I said I don't like Waxhaw is not because I hate them or just, but there are reasons I have. But my allegiance is always going to be to Marvin. And my responsibility is to take care of the people of Marvin.
On that note, I did tell one individual who asked, and I think I talked to Kim only about this. Jamie, you were there, but you made a point, Kim, and you can bring this up, but I thought I would at least share it with all of you. The issue with the 4th roundabout and what happened with the easements to get that 4th leg in, there's a lot of confusion with the neighborhood, why, and because they don't communicate that well, why they got a check from the state. And they want us to put out something that clarifies what happened, because there's maybe 16 people there and there's 16 different stories, and why that all happened. And I think Kim and I discussing that, I forget the gentleman's name, but he's from Meadowlark, and he had asked if there's a way we can communicate what happened. Gary, no, it's not Gary. It's the guy with the ponytail. Yeah, Gene? It is Gene, okay. Yes. So he said that all of a sudden they received a check. They weren't sure why, it wasn't clear why and all of that. So I don't know, Hunter, if there was something that happened over, but I think Kim's point was, why is it us? It's between them and DOT.
Yes, that's my response is, the check didn't come from Marvin. I don't know what the story is. I don't know that it's our responsibility to go figure out what that story is. If they would like to know, they should call DOT and find out why they got the check.
But it's
And I'm
basically.
not trying to be like, we
they're-
don't want to help
I
you,
think the
but
confusion was whose easement was it? And it was settled, is my understanding.
did the village have anything to do with that?
No.
No. So I would go talk to DOT about it. That's my response.
Well, I just wanted to bring it up. I said I would bring it up. If there's a formal response that we have to make to that, I just thought I'd bring it up. So you'll check that box.
I would love to give that answer, but I don't know what that answer is, and I'm not going to guess at what it is. And because the village wasn't involved in it, I don't know that it's our responsibility to go and figure that out. I think Meadowlark as an HOA needs to go figure that out.
The one thing
From third party in this, we don't,
Yeah,
it's not our
no.
place to say.
And that's all we need to say.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I had for that.
Oh, wait, hold on. I had one more thing for Coffee with Council. So we did happen to have another event at Village Hall the night that we had Coffee with Council that went until about 8:00. Normally, I would say, let's try to keep Coffee with Council to an hour, because one, it respects our time as council members, and it also respects whoever is here for staff. It respects their time. And if people want to continue to talk after an hour, like, again, we had an event, it was fine, but if there's nothing else going on here, we really should keep it to an hour. And if they want to continue to talk, then schedule some time, come in during the day when staff is here, or just take it outside. Yeah.
We'll
Go
move
on,
to the
Rocket
next
Chair.
coffee with council and continue, pick up where you left off. or
Right,
whatever. But
exactly.
I get
So
it.
let's just try to, as a whole, like all of us, like, and if we have to say, listen, like, we need to respect staff's time. They need to shut down. Like, we can go outside, we can schedule, you can come back tomorrow, whatever.
Joe, remember we had the lady with the chicken and
She came with the chicken?
yeah, about chicken. But when they got to be an hour, I told them, I said, we're here for an hour and it's closed.
I agree.
Well,
I mean, if you're,
I'll-
listen, if you
I'll-
can stay and go a little longer and all that, like, I think that's fine. But for the most part, we need to, especially at night when staff needs to go home, like, we need to
Yeah.
be done.
I'll make a formal apology then to Austin for
No.
staying later. No, I do, because
It was an event,
it was
no.
good
had
stuff
to-
that we were talking about, but it did go over an hour and a half, or 2 hours, actually, two and a half, to be clear.
Yeah, it was like 2.5.
Hey, so you can't say we're not transparent. I mean, I'm trying to get the answers out there. So anyway, thank you, Kim. Thank you all. Next up, reports and updates. We have managers report.
Okay, you're on.
Okay, so the first thing is the legislative grants. If you got a chance to read the memo in your packets and the manager's report, I highlighted basically what we have received from the state. And this was through the assistance of Representatives Willis and Johnson. So we do appreciate their help in trying to get this guided through and approved in the state budget. We did get $500,000 in what's considered directed grants. That is basically a grant for a specific purpose. And I generically wrote it to be parks in general. So we've been operating under this assumption that we're just going to put it into the village center, whatever we're going to call it, Pocket Park, the area that's adjacent to the town hall. But we could potentially switch that out and put it somewhere else if need be. So we do have that. That money has to be spent by 2024. So we've got a couple of years to spend that funding. I'm also going to potentially take the master plan that we're doing right now with McAdams out of this 500,000 because it could be used for that. So that would free up some more money if we wanted to spend some more money in this operating budget to fund things like the Tullamore Trail that you guys were just mentioning or other areas where you're needing to find money, speed bumps. Any questions on that one in particular?
That be used as like something like park, updated the park equipment that we have there?
It could be, yes. The idea and the premise is that McAdams is going to do their plan, their master plan for parks in the next couple of months. From there, they will ask you guys to pick one specific site that you want to make an application to the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. And so the idea that we've had is that we would basically put in an application for the maximum amount allowed, which is $1 million project. We would have to match that 50%. So we would have to come up with $500,000 to match that grant if it was funded. So kind of the idea and premise is that we would use this money to fund whatever it is we decide to do based on the study from the McAdams group. Additionally, you guys remember you did earmark $300,000 in ARPA funding for Marvin Eford. So essentially right now we're sitting on about $800,000 of our own money that we could potentially invest into our park systems in the next couple of years. If we were awarded a Part F grant, that's another $500,000 that we could additionally match into our 800 that we're sitting on.
But isn't it 950 with the extra 150?
950 with the extra 150. Oh, so the 150, yes. So the 150 grant is what's considered a SCIF grant. It's a capital improvement fund grant. And basically what that is it has to go into some type of capital infrastructure. I'm still working. There's a lot of language, a lot of information regarding these grants that I'm still trying to learn. So I'm trying to figure out if there's a way we can put that 150 into the trail that the CRTPO STIP grant. I'm going to try to fund that first year using this $150,000. I still don't know for sure that can happen. I feel confident that it can, but I can't tell you for sure today that that's going to work out. If it does, then the intent would be to put that 150 into that CRTPO STIP program. So that's less money that we have to come out of pocket from the vehicle tax and those sort of things. So that's more money that we could in turn put into other trails and other projects.
Okay.
We could find a way to put it into parks, but it is for a capital infrastructure. So I'd have to play with that a little bit.
No, that's good. I forgot we needed to find some capital for this loop.
And just to be clear and confirm, the people that helped us on that were David Willis and Todd Johnson?
Todd Johnson.
Okay.
Correct.
She said that.
Yes.
Okay.
We're not-
Oh,
I
Joe
wanna
just wanted to say it again?
Say it again, just so people know that we are working with our legislators at the state level and we're getting things done because of the relationships we have with them.
Yeah, and I will say, from my understanding, this is the first time that we've had that level of relationship with our state representatives where we were able to actually get, big projects done like this, where we have joint cooperation and assistance and people on our side at the state level. So it's props to you all for the continuing, visits to Raleigh when you have something going on, that's something that's problematic and vice versa. When they need support on something, you all are there as well. I do plan on getting a communication kind of press release sent out at some point, just thanking them for their efforts and looking out for us as Marvin.
Great. Thank you, Christina.
Absolutely. Any questions on any of that? We do have several years to spend this money, but we will jump on it as sooner than later.
Actually, June 2024 comes about pretty quick. Is what I'm reading right. It does.
It
June.
does. Yeah.
It's quick. It'll be here before you know it.
No.
Well, hopefully the funding will be spent pretty quickly once the Part F application goes through. So
I can spend money quickly.
that's why we wanted to go ahead and start chipping away at some of the things. And the master plan is the first big project that ties to parks, and that's about $60,000. So that'll be a good little chunk that we can pull out of there and spend elsewhere. That we don't have any deadlines that we have to spend that money
And obviously
if
that
we don't use general fund dollars.
$17,000 trail.
Hey, Christina, will council in full be able to see the press release before it goes out? Because I think this needs to be worded correctly, and provide a message of, the hard work that staff has done and working with council to form this, relationship to be able to get this type of thing, because it just didn't happen. David Willis and Todd Johnson didn't just go, okay, just want to let you guys know we did this. I mean, this is a collaborative effort. It took a long time that was done, and you guys did a phenomenal job to do that. And staff doesn't a lot of times get any credit or near the credit that you deserve in doing this. And the people should know, we went through that. I mean, it was a mic drop moment when of course I misstated it. I said 650 million.
Great. And I turned and I was like, wow, where did we get?
Yeah, but because we are busting our butts every day to make the people of the village of Marvin proud of the work that we're doing, and that needs to come through in this message that goes out. So that's on my point.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
for sure.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
There's a lot. Next.
All right, next, yeah. Look, I'm trying to get down to my,
To or go.
So, over the last couple of months, I've been working with an individual that actually lives in Marvin that does real estate photography and drone footage. She has actually done something for Waxhaw. I want to share it with you in just a second. Austin should be trying to pull it up real quick on the big screen so y'all can see it. But long story short, we are going to hire them for the Marvin Day event, so they can come out and take videos, take photography, like take pictures, so that we'll have all that in the long run. But one of the things that she does is like a community video tour, something that we can put on our website, and we can host but we get footage of different events that we have, the trick or treat event, the tree lighting event, and snaps of Marvin Day, and then also just snaps of just various parts of our community that we want to highlight. With that being said, I tried to negotiate with her, since we're hiring her for one thing, trying to negotiate it down. So in total, I've got her to $3,000 for the community tour and Marvin Day being the most expensive, because she's going to be there for roughly all day, and that's about $2,000. And then the area video is $1,000. And what we would do is basically just keep her on standby for the various events that we have throughout the year. I've identified as the trick or treat event that we've got coming up this week, and then the tree lighting event, and then Marvin Day. There's also been some discussion about National Night Out, but we would basically be holding the video up to wait for that event to happen for an entire year. So it's totally up to you guys if, number one, you want to do it, but number two, you want to encompass National Night Outs. And if you have that video on standby, if you want to go ahead and play it for them.
I'll talk. Welcome to Waxhaw, North Carolina.
There's the Walmart truck going across the train tracks. There's the train.
Going across the ground.
Yeah.
My favorite restaurant, burger joint.
My favorite restaurant that used to be in that building back there that's moved. Yeah, I mean, Christina, I want to make sure that if we're gonna do this, I want because clearly we don't have a downtown, so we need all of Marvin. We can't. I mean, and I don't know what they asked her to do for this, but she's right, just in the downtown area, and I don't want her, hovering over Publix for 3 minutes and doing that.
We can kind of get a script for her of what we want to see. I mean, I'd be more than glad to sit down with a couple of you if you want to help provide some guidance on what areas you want to see. I mean, and this is something that we have a whole year to work with. So I think she's flexible and we can just give her some parameters as to certain things we want to see and she can add in, you know, as the year continues.
See the drone.
Are there,
Yeah. Shadow.
We're still watching.
It is kind of a cool, like, overview of,
No, I think it would be very cool to do. I've seen this. I told Christina, I thought it'd be very cool to do, especially with like some of our events, Marvin Day. I think that if we wait until National Night Out, but I mean, Marvin Day is the beginning of June, National Night Out is the beginning of August. So, you know, what's another 2 months to get another great event in there? But I do understand, like, if we're going to do it, like, you know,
Basically put on sponsors for marketing.
yeah.
is this something we can send to our branding company?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. This would be a nice way that we could get some of our new branding logo information on. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, because this is, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So a video is worth 1,000,000, right? So putting that in with that branding and wayfinding package, this is a really good way to sell Marvin.
Yeah. I like it. I think it's good, but that's just me.
so one of the things, look, okay, so if everyone is in agreement, I'll have to come back and do a budget amendment for the financial portion of it. So I guess can I just get a good consensus that everybody is in agreement with doing it?
Jake says.
People are nodding their heads and I don't have a vote, as you know.
Okay. Well, as long as y'all are good, I'm gonna go ahead. I've already told her to start tomorrow, because the event is.
Kind of took it upon yourself then.
We give you credit for time management.
So I wanted to first and foremost make that. I did want to make the comment though, that if we are doing this for sponsorship purposes, y'all would understand that it wouldn't be this coming up Marvin Day. It would be for the next year because we wouldn't have any footage of it until May or June of 23. So we wouldn't have this video completed until like the latter part of the fall of 2023.
Okay.
That's fine, yeah.
Wait, what? Say that again?
Takes a long time, that much time to video it?
So
Well, because you're
she's going to be getting the video footage from Marvin Day of 23. So we would not have any footage from the community
Put it
video
all together.
of Marvin Day until the event actually happens, which wouldn't be until next year.
Say the first part of it again? Why am I missing this? Say the first part of it again.
So, okay, y'all had discussed the ability to use this footage for like getting sponsors for Marvin Day.
I got it. Okay, got it. Yep, check, got it. Thank you. Sorry, jeez. Need a cup of coffee apparently. Sorry, Christina. I understand now. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, I want to.
I'm actually helping her with her computer today.
All right.
Hitting the button.
County pump station ordinance.
Okay, I just want, I mean, as you all know, you've mentioned this, I just wanted to make sure that it was officially noted that the county did approve the ordinance that was stopping the pump station from potentially being considered at the Heritage residential area. So we are moving forward with the roundabout as planned. We will get a public press release out, hopefully this week or beginning of next week, to let everyone know that they can rest assured that the route is being constructed as originally planned and potentially even moved up a little bit quicker than we initially thought.
Maybe we should, if it does happen in April, make sure we reach out to the county commissioners and say, thank you for making that happen, because they helped with that process. I mean, I didn't think this would, I mean, it'd be great if it happens in April, in fairness, but that's the kind of stuff that the sense of urgency, you know, we should be on this stuff. That should have been decided, but a thank you would be probably in order if it does come to April. So that we start this. So just so they know that we're appreciative of what we're all trying to accomplish.
So we'll get basket.
No gift basket.
We'll just send you.
We're gonna limit the number of people at lunches too. Do have budgets.
She's not.
And that's all I have on that topic.
Okay, thank you. And what's next? The village tro?
County pump station ordinance.
She just. Hang
Pay attention, Bob.
We just got through that one. All right.
I was reading the wrong one, sorry.
I want you to go.
Y'all ready?
Yep, go.
Okay, so at the HOA president's meeting, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had some citizens interested in doing some trail safety discussion. Basically, there's a subdivision that had a break-in, and there's some concerns that the break-in occurred from people coming off of the trail. So they were concerned that we're not properly monitoring the trails. I have since spoken with our officers, and they don't think that that's the case. They do not think that the perpetrator came from the trails. So I don't know if the two issues are related or if it's just completely coincidental, but that does lead us to dive into looking at trail safety. And if you guys have any interest in putting up trail cams, putting in some type of safety measures, it's kind of a double-edged sword when you put up trail cams, because then you're I don't want to say you're invading on personal property, but you could potentially be looking at an area that's geared towards, someone's backyard. So it's depending on foliage and that sort of thing that happens throughout the year. So I don't know where y'all want to go with this. If you want to do anything, we have reached out to colleagues on our listserv in the Parks and Recreation Department, and they basically said they don't really do anything. They have police officers that will, ride a bike through occasionally, but they don't really do anything in terms of aggressive safety measures. I did get a quote, and this is really high level quote. It wasn't actually physically generated. I asked Lieutenant Kazaa how much Indian Trail just paid for their latest UTV that they purchased, and it was around $20,000.
For what?
For utility.
An ATV going on the trail.
Selling stuff to.
That's why I said the one at Lowe's was cheap at 10,000 or 9,000.
It was 10 grand.
And then, but you gotta have it equipped for they pay 10,000 and they charge us 20,000, so they're making $10,000.
That's my point.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong business.
Here's my take on that before it gets, I feel like we're going down a rabbit hole here. If it were my property and I had issues with that, I would put up my own trail cam. It's an expense to me because going back to the ripple effect, if we put a trail cam in, for one, we're going to have 50,000 trail cams spread out all over Marvin, and I'm all for it. But if I truly am concerned about my safety and who's coming in my yard, I need to take that responsibility and put up what I need to put up. And hell, I can put up 10 trail cams if I want.
Yeah.
I just don't, I do believe that we should have, make it a point that if there are blind spots from the trail system, if there are blind spots that we're concerned with, then have the deputies and, randomly making that walk or traveling that area to show that we're there. But we get in the trail cam business, I mean.
What kind of crime was committed at that? Did they
Break-in.
talk about?
There was a break-in, and I was part of that conversation, and I said, listen, I'm all for putting up a trail cam. That means, again, I go back to, and I always put this in this context. Before you come and ask something or say something or respond to something and want something, put yourself in the other person's shoes. If I have that issue, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my own trail cams up, and then we'll go from there.
So I guess my first thought, if it was a break-in, they're usually breaking in to steal something, correct?
Well, this has a lot about.
The best way to get away is not through a trail system. It's unlike
car
to
in the
the
street.
officer's point is the car was parked somewhere else down there, and they may have utilized the trail system to not be seen to get to their car, but I don't know. To your point, I agree. We all are responsible for.
Let one person know that we've provided a trail cam. Guess what we're getting ready to do? Buy 7,000 trail cams.
I mean, it's a public access point, just like the street that you drive in on to get to your driveway every day. And that is, you're responsible for your own security. The village is not responsible for your personal security. So I can't see spending money on trail cams or anything. I would say that, just like we have our deputies patrol our roads and our neighborhoods, that extending it to our trail system as it's built is prudent as far as, a public safety situation. Our deputies have mentioned it about getting an off-road vehicle so they can patrol our trails. I think that's a good idea, but past that, I don't think we have any more responsibility than we do on the street in front of your house. It's still a public access point. It's still your responsibility to control your own piece of property. My 2 cents.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
To explore the UTV like more. I just wanted to let you know roughly how much it was going to be before I spent a whole lot of time on it.
If we buy one ourselves, can Tommy and Ed use it? Or do they have to be in an official Union County vehicle?
From what Brian told me, it has to be official because they have to have the ability to get quickly to their vehicle if need be. But I can ask.
So what's the difference if they're walking the trails? They're going to get there a lot quicker on our UTV than they are on their feet.
They would not walk.
Can I just say, some of our trails, you can't get,
It has to do with having quick access to get to.
you can't get a UTV.
An accident or something, a call.
Okay, what?
Some of our trails are very limited on where you can get a UTV. It would have to be like a very narrow four-wheeler. We're not getting the mule on some of the turns on the new preserve internal trail.
Okay. I'm just wondering why, it has to be an official one. So because theirs is going to go quicker?
I'll ask them that question.
It's an official vehicle.
The only question I have is why not motorcycles?
Or mountain bikes.
Yeah, they have, this is
Oh, yeah, I mean,
two-wheeler.
they have they have bike
Yeah, they-
patrol.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those are far cheaper.
Then let's build a barn.
Listen, I think, having them patrol some of the trails is not a bad idea, but I'm just trying to think of the easiest way to do it.
And to Jamie's point, though, specific areas where they're more problematic than necessarily all of them. So if you have issues where we have known issues, or they might be a security risk, let's patrol those and that's the extent of it, rather than maybe trying to run every single foot of all of our trails.
I'd be more for an electric bike.
Yeah, there you
One other option we could do just for present standpoint is just periodically hire off duty to go and walk a trail, just to have that presence. I mean, that's probably the cheapest option.
Trail.
I would ask,
Veterans militia.
I would ask if either one are, motorcycle endorsed, that can actually, if you get a bike, a motorcycle, you can actually not only access trails. I know they're in vehicles now, these SUVs, but they can get on roads and patrol on roads, get on trails, get off trails, go onto roads. I mean, it would all be there, but I don't know how certified they are.
Well, Tommy has a motorcycle license, but he's not registered with the county, from what he has told me, unless he's updated that since. But he does have a motorcycle license.
Can you ride an electric
And-
bike?
And if we got a motorcycle, we could have Councilman Markleese, I think the going rate's about $30,000 to train our folks.
There you go.
Perfect.
Just thinking out loud.
Check. All right, moving on. Village branded shirts, Christina.
Village branded shirts. Oh, that's Austin, actually.
It says manager.
Yeah, we've had some board members to inquire about buying village merchandise, like the shirts that we all have.
Who's inquired about that?
Austin? I'm not really sure.
I'm just kidding. I don't care.
I do.
Personally, I mean, we can do it. It's not a problem. I just wanted to make sure you guys were good with it first and foremost, but secondly, to inform you that we probably have to come back with a budget amendment because we didn't budget
Well.
for merchandise sales.
Well, I would say no at this point if we're getting ready to possibly redo stuff. So why don't we just hold off on this?
The only thought I would add to that is the board member specifically, I think, is wanting a shirt for her mother. Her parents were involved in the founding of Marvin and
It's not me.
the original seal. So I think that's why.
I was gonna say, it's not me. My mom doesn't want a shirt. I don't know what other woman board member we have on here.
Okay, so let me ask you this, if we were to, I know we have a, electronic,
Those are expensive. Why is yours
So
on the
if we
wrong
get-
side?
So I'm sure we have an electronic storage of this. If she wanted something specifically, could we, give her access to have it made herself? If that's what she wants.
Access.
I mean,
Cost us.
No, I'm not saying cost us anything. I'm saying, because they're talking about buying something. So if we just gave her access to have her own shirt made of the seal,
Sure.
is that something that we could allow? I would think that would be.
Before you know it, we're gonna have a cabinet, glass cabinet full of swag.
Oh, it's gonna be
You can
cool. The new
purchase
stuff.
everything.
Yeah,
That'd be
it's gonna
fine.
be good.
But I mean, for this particular purpose,
I mean, I'm not gonna, do we have extra shirts? What kind of shirts?
Shouldn't the seal be reserved for those representing the village in an official capacity? Just throwing that out there.
It was. I didn't want to really drop it.
Don't,
It's
please
new.
don't drop those mine.
Because it's new.
I guess, yeah.
Charge her $500.
I don't know. I
That's $500.
I need,
With the branding.
take it out
thing-
of my paycheck. Oh, wait, my paycheck's not that much. I don't know. I don't know.
I think Derek's got a good point. The seal should be reserved for official use, but whatever we do for branding, if we want to have merchandise for the branding thing, maybe that's something different.
So,
The hipster one's
I
gonna be
mean,
good.
we can also do something simple that doesn't cost much, is like recognition, if
But
there is recognized.
They want the official seal on it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the gist I got, just because her parents were involved with the founding of Marvin and the original seal. So I think it's a sentimental thing, but I'll talk whatever you guys decide. It doesn't matter.
Take care.
Huh? Take care. Jared, do we have extra shirt laying around?
Got a Marvin Day t-shirt probably. A 5K t-shirt.
Again, up to you guys,
Do they want us to pay for it?
She's willing to pay for it.
We're spending way too much time on this. I just- Unless we have a process for recognizing people that have done work in the village, which we do, I believe. We recognize people who have passed on and, but it's, I get it, but.
Listen, I don't care. If they want a shirt with a seal on it because they were involved with helping to do it, then give them access to the seal and let them go have the shirt made. I don't care.
The last thing, Christina, remind me, did you want to have a discussion with council to see if we want to provide shirts to our board members? How much you can hear me on that?
Christina, can you hear Austin? He's talking to you.
I can't, no.
Austin wants to know if you want to provide board members with shirts.
I can do that, but I'll need a budget amendment because I don't have enough money to do that.
Okay, well, I don't think we need to do it right now, especially when we're literally in the middle of trying to rebrand.
This would be post-brand.
Yeah, that was my recommendation to him when he asked, is I would just let them know that we're gonna have a new brand in the next couple of weeks, if not, months, and we would probably be more than eager to be pushing out the new brand at that point in time. So that would be a good opportunity for us to just go ahead and do one big order at that time.
Yeah, but they want the old one on there. I would give them access. For me, I don't care, like, whatever.
Okay.
But that's me. I'm one, and I am a
Well, I
vote,
think-
so.
I think that the board's having shirts with the logo on or whatever is fine, but I agree that we should wait until after the branding process is done and then we have that.
But are you guys
that
okay
one.
with just the one person that's asked me?
I am 100%.
fine.
That's why I
If they're involved
suggested
in
give
it, yes.
opportunity to print it.
Yeah, give them a
That
cup.
metal
Give them a
cup, we
wine
got a
cup.
bunch of metal cups.
You want a shirt?
I'm sure they
I
already
can't,
have.
I can't really hear the other people that are speaking, but I
I
think you
dropped
guys
you,
are saying let
sorry.
them have it.
Yeah.
But just know that, if one person asks and they get it, we're probably likely gonna have several people asking, and we just need to be prepared to do the same thing for others.
Give them a coffee cup.
Yeah, give them a coffee
Give
cup.
them the wine thing we
I
did.
will say this is the only request I've gotten for a shirt. But
I thought Derek, you said people come in all the time wanting shirts. Who said that yesterday? Literally, somebody said that yesterday. Who said that yesterday? Jill?
Was it me?
That's for our staff, though.
I know, but
Yeah. I just think at this point, especially to your point, we're in the middle of rebranding. If they want the old brand, go make your own shirt, give them access to that thing and they can have that old brand, but we shouldn't
This
pay
is the only
for it.
request I've gotten for the old brand shirt. Like people want stuff with Marvin on it, but that's just the one specifically like one of these shirts that we wear.
If you give somebody access to a logo, then you give them control of what goes next to that logo. So they could literally say, I effing hate, and put the logo next to it. I'm just,
Okay,
know,
then
I'm
it's
saying
just
there's-
decided for us. Then we're not doing any logos unless we're recognizing someone for specifically for whatever reason. And they can always make they can always propose to us, would you consider recognizing my parents in this matter because they were part of this and the council can take that up.
well, I think that's what he's asking right now.
I was just saying this was a simple solution.
It's not because it's again going down like we talked to earlier.
All
We
right.
do something
You
for
know
one.
what? And y'all can disagree. My view of it is, no, only the people that have board members and staff have it, period. And then, because we have just sat here for 20 minutes to figure out Aunt Maud, what she wants to do because somebody did. I'm sorry, there's a reason for it. Let's stick to it and be done with it. And then we have a policy in place that says, if you want to wear one, run. God damn, just.
I agree.
Christina, Jamie wants a new policy on that. If we can work on that. Hey, moving on. I'm good with that. Planners report.
All right.
Thanks, Kim, for taking over.
No pressure.
Yeah, I'll start with some good news.
I was there 10
Sorry.
minutes ago.
Yeah, so roundabout update as Mayor Pro Tem
Pro Kim,
Pro
Mayor
Kim
Pro Kim said it.
has mentioned, the roundabout is moving forward and it's potentially going to start construction in April of next year. We did receive the, I guess, agreement for the request of the funds for the 96,000 that we owe for the construction. That was allocated from the ARPA fund, so we're going to be sending them a check and moving forward. The, as well as from my understanding, like all the right of way has been procured. I know that Russ and all that signed deeds and everything's been worked out with DOT. So that's why it's on track and moving forward.
Lighting?
Hold on.
Yeah,
just
I'm
a
good.
minute here. Give him a minute. please.
Crosswalks, DOT is adding, with the median islands, they will be adding like cutouts. But we will be responsible then obviously for when the sidewalk goes in and putting the paint, the plastic down for the actual crosswalks to connect, but at least they're putting it in where we don't have to come back, cut the island. I mean, do additional work to get across the roads and stuff in those areas.
Sorry.
Lighting, Union Power has submitted their encroachment and lighting plan to DOT, and been in discussion with the property owners. Really, like I said, it's really just securing those easements. Once again, I know that Jones Home / Russ will already grant any type of easements for lighting on their property. They'll have to do, I guess, similar for potentially Scotlet and the other, because it won't be in the roundabout right
Why
away.
not be in the right of way?
Well, it could be, but
I mean, that would seem to make sense that the lighting for the roundabout will be in the roundabout right of way.
I haven't seen their lighting plans to where they're proposing them. But at the same time, like I said, it's moving forward and it should still be all completed and ready to go, either to be done simultaneously with the construction or put up right after the roundabout construction is completed.
Okay.
So that's everything on the roundabout, unless there's any questions on any of those.
Did you say how much our match was?
For
The roundabout that we're getting ready to pay?
96,000.
He said it now, Christina.
The check you're gonna write to DOT.
For the construction phase, and then once again, after the construction's completed, us and DOT are on the hook. We split any overages cost. So we won't know that number until next year, basically. All right, Marvin's Women's Center zoning text amendment application. I'm not sure if I have kind of given you guys an update on or informed you. So we received a zoning text amendment application from the applicants, Marvin's Women's Center / the Monroe Help Center, to basically they're potentially trying to lease Old Village Hall from the church. It's kind of, I've met with them back in March, April, but overall they've submitted a text amendment to allow, right now it says special uses is churches, house of worship, and other places of gathering, whatever, and their customary related uses. Basically, Chaplain and I discussed this back in March. A nonprofit, to an extent that's not part of the church, like if it was like certain things, and especially being its own parcel, this would not meet it, so they would have to apply for a text amendment. The text amendment was briefly presented to Planning Board last week. This, really the two options is that the text amendment needs to be kind of cleaned up because how it's done, it's vague. I get the intent, but it needs to be clarified on what those uses, because nonprofit can be a use, but typically you specify, you don't say nonprofit is a use, you specify what uses nonprofits typically associate themselves with. So if it's like counseling, whatever. So it's more of breaking that out and then potentially going back to the applicant and seeing how they would like to proceed. The second option that I discussed with Chaplain last week is, if you guys recall, I brought up doing a civic zoning district a few months back, where once again, you kind of are able to clean up, classify some of these uses better. And that was kind of Chaplain's recommendation, is potentially establish this district with those uses, and then they would have to go through the rezoning process. So those are kind of the two avenues. I'm working through that, and it will be back on Planning Board's agenda in November, but most likely no action will be taken until their December meeting, just because with the joint training that you guys have with them this in November. Any questions on that?
Yeah, what exactly is the Women's Center? What are they going to be doing there?
From my understanding, it's an extension of the Monroe Women's Help Center or something like that. Yeah, it's counseling for women in need, I guess, from an extent of like family planning, family need, but it wouldn't be like a what's the word? Like,
It's not an abortion.
it's not an abortion clinic. It's not like where they live there. This would be offices and a place for counseling classes and other stuff like that.
So is it not part of the Heritage District?
Yes and no.
No.
Because
That was clear.
That's pretty clear.
it is identified in
So
the future
clear.
land use plan as MHD Civic. But the property is still zoned Marvin Residential because the district itself is set up where the property owners have to apply for the rezoning.
So if the property owner applies for the rezoning, which is what, opinion of one, which is what I would recommend if they want to do this, because they have a right, it's their land and stuff, they go through that process, and then we go back to what uses will we allow? Is it on that use list? And if it's not, then they can't do it.
Plus, they apply for a special use permit, which we would then be able to say yay or nay.
Right.
And that's kind of like why, going back to the original intent of doing a civic, just conventional zoning district, is because if you really think about it, because of the way the Heritage District's set up with conditional zoning and kind of needing all this information, what is the incentive for like Village Hall or the churches or any of that? If the uses are going to remain, why would they ever rezone to the Heritage District? Like, there's kind of like no really incentive there. But if we, basically what I would do is take all that stuff that's in the civic MHD and make it a conventional district, and then where they still have to go through the rezoning process. And those uses can still be identified and everything with that, but it really, and then you would also rezone the schools and all that and other churches because they're all zoned residential right now. But the main intent of that is like, when the Heritage District was originally being set up, remember, it was being done as a conventional district, so it made sense. Now, if those churches, like I said, there's really kind of no incentive for them to rezone to the Heritage District unless they're trying to do something, either like, for example, just this is an example only. Everything else I say, this is nothing true. Is that like, if somebody wanted to purchase one of the churches and
Turn it into a restaurant.
yes,
I'll say it.
What did you say?
If someone wanted to purchase a church and turn it into a restaurant.
That's not what he was gonna say.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
It would, but then they would rezone to the Heritage District, and it wouldn't necessarily be a civic use. It'd be more of one of the commercial or mixed use, depending on what their full scale, like, site vision is.
Right.
Just like anything, if you're going to change its use, and you have to rezone for the particular use. So if
Yeah.
it was civic and you wanted to put a house there, then you'd have to change it to residential.
And
So
in
it's
the
just-
planning board meeting last week, it was quite well attended by both sides that were like trying to say, well, if this doesn't mean it's always going to be this. It could be a possibility of a food bank next year or something of that nature. In other words, it would still be, I was going to say, connected with the values of the church.
Right.
Well, the church wouldn't lease it if it didn't
Yeah.
coincide
Well,
with their values. So
And why, that, basically what, that old Village Hall sits on its own parcel. So when looking, even though it's owned by the church, when you're looking at uses, it applies to the parcel itself. So if they were all in the same lot, it would be a little bit different, because then the primary principal use of the overall lot would be the church. And then the nonprofit would be like kind of a related use to that. Now that it sits on its own lot, there's no use that what they're trying to do that kind of runs with that. So that's why the text amendment was seeked.
Yeah, that's what's making.
So if they combine the tracks, then they don't necessarily have to rezone, but they would still have to get a special use permit. So it's potentially going to be doing both, like doing the text amendment and creating the civic district.
If they want to go down the rezoning route, then they need to be aware that they're gonna get an extra tax,
From,
the MHD.
and that's kind of, like I said, that's the intent is to do the civic
yes,
standing, but
The churches aren't gonna get taxed because they're never gonna rezone into that district until, 100 years from now when they decide they don't wanna have it as a church anymore. But that parcel, if they want it rezoned into the Heritage District, they'll be subject to the MSD, right?
right. And well, but then they're also leasing the building.
don't have
So
an
it's a
MSD.
business transaction for the church. So that just comes off of the lease. I mean, it's a pass through for them, but yes.
I'm just saying if they wanna go down that road, then they need to just be aware that there will be,
well,
like,
potentially even the MSD is not established, the service district, that extra tax district. Long-term, even if they're technically not zoned in the MHD, they can still be within the MSD. If council so chooses, because they're benefiting, they would still be benefiting from what the overall goal of it is with sidewalk, all those nice improvements, even though they're not necessarily zoned the Heritage District itself, because the Heritage District itself is just a zoning district for those regulations.
And right now, just rezoning it doesn't have a tax implication at this
Correct.
moment because we haven't established the overlay, which none of the properties for that matter.
I just want them to be aware that that is coming forthcoming.
That is coming.
Okay, so you're gonna get us more information?
Yeah, I'll probably,
Cool.
I'm gonna work through this and probably be able to give you guys, I can put something on your November meeting, but like I said, it probably won't be till December when planning board takes action. So this probably won't be in front of you for consideration till January. So, most likely at the December meeting, I can put what direction, what staff recommendations are with their current text amendment proposal and so on, just for you guys to be informed and moving forward. Final thing, real quick, Marvin Loop project. We should have next week the executed agreement between us and DOT. With that being said, I will get the RFP out once I have that authorization. And then most likely then at your December meeting, we can award that and move forward with the preliminary engineering.
Awesome. Great job.
And one last thing is that the PIM for the subdivision application that we received, just remember, just for you guys, yeah, the Brantley property is next Tuesday here at Village Hall. They have a 3 to 5 and 5 to 7. I can't remember at the last meeting if we decided to figure out who and when's coming to which sessions.
I need to be at the earlier one.
We did not, just, cut it, split in half.
Jamie's out of town, Joe's no. I think Wayne, Bob, and Andy and I are available that day.
So just split in half and then we go, wait on the one, maybe the one.
I would like the earlier one because I have an appointment at 4:45.
You can put me down for the earlier one too.
It's okay, you and Kim.
Is that okay with you and Ann?
I'll do the later one then, I guess, which works better for me anyway.
Okay. And last thing I'll mention on that is, I know some of you guys might have seen their proposal and that went to planning board. They're based off of, I had it on planning board's agenda last week, basically to give them an opportunity to go ahead and kind of get some initial feedback and stuff. Planning board was not taking any action. Once again, they'll probably take action in December, but I have received an updated site plan. So potentially I'm going to review that today and discuss, but potentially that's what they will be presenting. It's basically more as a conservation subdivision because that's what they were originally kind of proposing. So it does, based off our ordinance, it does allow them to have a little bit smaller lots than an acre, but never less than 3/4 of an acre, basically. So yeah, I encourage you guys to comment. If you have any specific questions on their proposal and their layout and stuff, just feel free to reach out to me.
Can you send us the updated one?
Let me get to Tuesday first because I need to review it and
Okay.
get them to,
But before Tuesday?
yeah, I can.
Okay. Thanks.
Jesus. I knew you were wrapping it up, so review of action.
Jesus, Christ.
Quite a laundry list here. So Hunter will look into that Belgrove landscape agreement. See, Derek will add that property to his guy's maintenance schedule. I will be looking into cleaning fees for the fee schedule and the cleaning options. Hunter is going to continue to work on the Gates text amendment. You guys will see that after it goes to planning board. We'll figure out where we're going to get the money for these speed humps for the park. I'll work on some communications for when we lower the flags. Christina's going to move forward with the community video, and she's going to move forward with a press release for the pump station. I don't know where we stood on trail patrols. We're just send the deputies out there, I guess, and not to revisit, but I have direction on the shirts. The shirts. That's the direction. That's the direction. There's no, yeah.
Kim's action items. I'm gonna start putting that in the.
I should put it on there.
You should.
All right, go ahead.
You know, I mean, I've got the update, but we won't have the agreement until the plans are approved from with DOT.
I have it in my truck. I know, I forgot to bring it in this morning.
Oh, my thing's not on. You knew I was gonna call on you today.
I have it out in my truck. I just forgot to bring it in this morning, but it is done.
Well, I know, but we need to talk about it. Okay, so Austin, let's put that, since Andy actually has the pricing, let's put that on the November meeting and he can tell us about it.
Hey, how about that?
About that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you the information. It's in my truck. I forgot to bring it in this morning, so.
All right.
It's not crazy expensive. It's just.
Okay, well, let's put it on the agenda and we'll approve it and move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Work with NCDOT on installing crosswalks. Can we say that's done for the roundabout?
You can say it's done, or if you just want to check it out, maybe at the November, once they let send the construction documents out for bid, and we'll confirm that they're in there, then it will definitely be checked off. But
Okay,
yes,
just leave it
I
on
was
then.
informed by them that they're putting it in there.
Okay. Mr. Nestor, are you gonna meet with all council members regarding gates and private roads?
I mean, if you guys want to go through the formal one, it's up to you.
Okay.
That was before I kind of had this.
All right, well, let's say done. 929 gates and private roads. Have we addressed the leaning signs in Amber Meadows and Tullamore?
That's a question.
It's a question for Dirk. Yeah? You're happy with it? Okay. Are they done? Have they been straightened and are not leaning anymore?
Did you do both of them? Because I didn't see one of them.
Standing, they did both.
Okay, because they probably didn't. I'll check and make sure.
Okay, so we'll leave that one on there.
Go check them.
All right.
We're leaving that on there?
Yeah, leave it on there. Okay. Execute NCDOT agreement for the Marvin Loop. Have we done that?
Yeah, it's sent and we'll get it.
Christina executed it? Okay.
It was-
Do we execute the utility extension agreement? These are all Christina. She's not gonna answer me.
So I'm checking that one.
Do we know if the utility extension agreement's been executed? Okay, that one's a no. All right, execute change order with Water Saver Irrigation. That's a no. Christina just said no. Hang on. Waiting on NCDOT. Why are we waiting on NCDOT?
Because of the right-of-way encroachment agreement, because they have to cross the right-of-way with the water line and they have to do work within the traffic circle. So you have to have an encroachment agreement for that. So she's still waiting on NCOD to give her the,
Yeah, the encroachment agreements have been sent.
yeah.
Complete letter to accompany WUMA ETJ resolution.
It's done. We'll get it.
I didn't sign it yet, though, did I? I don't think you gave it to me to sign yet, right?
I gave you guys the resolutions.
Wasn't it at the last meeting, you guys?
I gave them to Andy last week.
Yeah, the resolution, but not the letter. He said he was gonna finish the letter the next day and I asked him to please email it to everybody when it was finished so that we could see it, but.
I can have that. I'll get with Austin. We can get that email to him.
Okay.
Leave it on. It hasn't been done yet. Send pump station resolution to Union County. Okay, complete that one. Okay,
Good.
that's it. That's it for me. Dunzo.
Moving on, council comments. Thank you, staff. Most definitely. City officer. Stop. We still support them.
There.
I do support them. I haven't seen it since it's been on the job.
I haven't either.
He's out there. I see him.
I see him out there, but I don't see him in here, which is good.
Yeah, well, that's where he's supposed to be, out there, not in here.
Like I said, thank the staff for all the work they do. Will make our job easier. Kim.
Same as Wayne. Thanks to staff. I mean, we cover a lot of stuff and appreciate all the hard work and again, Austin, without saying a word, stayed over additional couple hours that we're doing.
You just didn't hear
So-
it. He was saying it.
He says, but just a testament to staff, what they do for the constituents and the people and certainly helping us and shout out to law enforcement too, because all law enforcement, not just here, but throughout the state that have to go wear that badge and go out and do something, and do something that 98% of us wouldn't dare to do. So, that's all I got.
Kim,
Thanks, staff. You guys are awesome.
No comment?
I don't think it's all been said, so,
You good?
Nothing.
Okay. No,
I'd like to make a motion. Go ahead.
I do want to point out, yes, thanks staff and stuff, but anything that, sometimes comes up in a meeting, I certainly want staff to understand, none of this is ever personal. It's stuff that we are trying to figure out to make sure it, we're looking out for, I think, everyone here and stuff. So I know it was mentioned and maybe teasingly, but either way, there's nothing personal. We just want to make sure we stay on with what we feel is important as leaders in our community and how we go about doing business. So we appreciate that. And we certainly appreciate your efforts in getting everything you get done for us. I just want to do, just on a separate sort of personal private, I just want to let, you want to say one more thing? Go ahead and say it.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say, I'm just personally, and I know a lot of the other council members, we got some news that we're just thinking of the Jones family, John Jones and Ann have been a big part of this community, and we're just praying for them and their family, and just want to let them know we're thinking about them right now. So go ahead, Kim.
Don't forget, after this meeting, we're decorating the tree right out in the foyer for the friendship tree. And I would like to challenge all of council to pick a family to take care of. That's my challenge to you. It'll be on November 1st,
It'll be next week, yes.
but we're decorating it right now.
Yes.
So don't think you're leaving.
Well, I will have to
Save me
chase you
one.
down if you try to leave.
I'll be,
I'll pick you a good one. I'll pick you the one with all the kids.
pick me a bunch of kids, yeah, so. And with that, I'll need a motion to adjourn.
At 12:28 PM.
All's in favor?
Aye. It's a decorated tree. I decorated my house yesterday. It's already Christmas. Anybody want to come over? I listen to jingle bells.
Oh, my God, please say you didn't.
I
Decorated. I'm skipping
Refuse.
Halloween. I'm skipping
yeah, I refuse to do Christmas until
No.
at least the Friday after Thanksgiving. Christmas season.
What's the check for?
After the rest of the holidays are done.
Sorry. I didn't know.
Sorry.